make sure you put the microphone on. Okay, there's two microphones, one microphone for two people in each table. Don't get off your masks. Don't take off your masks and talk to the phone. When you finish talking, please turn it off. Sweden. Okay, so this is the idea behind the final simulation. You have your own country seat. Okay, I will go through the attendance list by country. We have 4 hours, a little bit less if you are quick, a little bit more if you are not quick, it's okay. The idea is that we will have a first round in which you will present your positions, okay? Regarding the multi-annual financial framework, because you received the information from the Commission, okay? And then after that, we will have a short break for you to prepare your bargaining strategies, maybe. And then we will continue talking by blocks, okay? We will organize the discussion by 5 blocks. First block will be regarding the ceiling and the new resources, okay? Second block will be about administration. Third block will be about cohesion funds and about the overall cohesion and how you distribute in the 2 elements that we discussed during the session, which are research and innovation and connecting Europe. The fourth block will be the common agricultural policy, and the final block will be the correction systems. So, you know, we will negotiate in crescendo in terms of importance and conflictivity. That's basically it. I will give you 5 minutes each, okay? But please be careful with the time. I will be taking or looking at the clock because if we don't respect times, this is not going to end maybe never. Okay. Also, the wording, or please raise your hands when you want to say something. I will take notes on who's asked to speak. And basically, that's about it. Be kind to your fellow representatives, and make sure that you express everything that you've been working on during these past 7 weeks. Okay? With that said, let me start the round of presentations. Maybe we can do it by order. Okay, so maybe Belgium will be starting, and then Denmark, and then Greece, okay? So, representative of Belgium, the floor is yours.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm the representative of Belgium, and the first thing that we have to say is that the proposal of the President of the European Council is, for us, the most correct in these times. We cannot deny that the MFF in the coming years will be marked by the COVID pandemic and the economic recovery all the countries of the Eurozone will have to undertake. Therefore, it seems to us more than logical to maintain or even slightly reduce the European Union budget. We believe that the amount of 1.1 trillion euros that the Commission proposes is appropriate. Although the budget is relatively small and certainly insufficient to directly counter the economic and financial crisis in Europe. It offers important leverage to respond to the European Union-wide challenges in the medium and long term. And at the same time, we think that funds should be reduced in programs such as the CAP. We know how important this program is for many European states, accounting for around 30% of the previous MFF funds, but it is inefficient in terms of price and production, regulation and agricultural development, not to say that many of its funds end up being wasted. For instance, in 2009, around 700 million euros were wasted according to a report by John Pitt and Stephen Tyndale. Moreover, given the current times, the allocation of these funds must be done under certain conditionalities that push Europe towards a circular economy, a near-zero carbon footprint, and green policies. The CAP must be reformed in a comprehensive way that will result in fair competition within the European market. On the other hand, cohesion funds cannot be kept as they are today either. The money is needed in other fields, and these funds must be reformed from a legal point of view. The rules must be clearer and more concise, and the funds must be used for two main things. In the first place, to contribute to climate objectives, and in the second place, to research and development programs within the Eurozone that will make us more competitive in the areas of green energy and health. Therefore, while we believe that a reduction of these funds to 323 billion is necessary, we are willing to negotiate the amount of provided if these legislative changes are agreed upon. One thing we must not forget is that in addition to the MFF, over the next few years we will have the Next Generation European Union Economic Recovery Programme, a program that we feel has not been given enough importance in previous negotiations. Next Generation Europe will help the countries with the most vulnerable post-pandemic economies to recover and move forward. However, in order to be able to carry it out, it is necessary that funds in the areas mentioned above are reduced. In Belgium, we see this program as essential to the future of the Union because it exemplifies the values that all these states share, democratic values that strive for freedom and solidarity. As a sign of this solidarity, we in Belgium are committing ourselves to contributing 0.94% of our GDP to European funds, and 11% more than we have been doing until now, while simultaneously investing in a national economy that is more respectful of the environment. Finally, we call on the countries benefiting from rebates to agree to abolish or reduce the amount of these rebates. We are all in the same boat and we all have to make sacrifices for the economic recovery of the European Union.
Okay, very good. Stick to the time. I hope that everybody does the same. Please, Denmark, the floor is yours.
Yes, as a representative from Denmark today, I want to start out explaining what we really enjoy about the European Union and why we think it's so important to make it work all together. Well, we find it very important for several reasons. First of all, economically, we see our advantages within the Union with the free trade. We enjoy our trade within the member states, both from our import and export of goods. We believe that supporting the economies in other member states and help create development all over Europe is very beneficial for the whole Union. We believe in the Union's role of supporting developing states and helping them create countries where the state supports its citizens and where everyone is equal. Having our Declaration of Human Rights within the Union, we believe that the Union is a very powerful institution in many other aspects than only the economic situation. And it's very powerful when so many states have agreed on this standard of human rights. With this said, we also see some challenges that we will face together as a union in the coming years. We believe in Denmark that each member state should participate in the union, both economically and politically. But there can also be exceptions from the sovereignty of the EU, as we have in Denmark at some aspects. The power balance is very important for us in Denmark, and as we all come as different member states with our own interests in the union. And of course, we also bring in interest today in these negotiations. We come as a country with a goal in these negotiations. We will contribute to the negotiations today with focus on how we can make the EU more efficient and modern, especially when it comes to our budgets and how we spend the money. We want innovation on many subjects, and this we can create with funding of research, innovation, and projects. This we want to focus on so we can support with the help and funds for the ones who need it the most. And that way we can continue our mission with the EU on creating a union with equality and possibilities for everyone and every country. At the same time, we also want to focus on creating a fairness within the union. We really believe that we can actually achieve these things without raising our overall budget. And in our negotiations, we will explain more detailed how we want to do it on the specific topics. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Next, Greece, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Well, I'll start with a few, few introduction of our country as far as Greece is concerned. This union is an association of states that decide to share a free market and cooperate with common goals in order to grow politically and economically while maintaining peace as well. Thus, it also requires the community to agree with basic public policies among the member states, and that, at the end, it creates a bond of cohesion. Greece understands the necessity of a strong welfare state within countries and of the Union, and is also aware of the assistance it has received from the European states, both financial and institutional, since it became part of the Union in 1981. So, however, after a reorganization of our political spectrum in Greece, there was a clear divergence between Greece and the EU administration that led to some drawbacks in Greece's membership at the beginning. Therefore, this situation brought some economic consequences to our country, and Greece acknowledged its lack of administrative capacity, as well as the ability to produce a clear vision of what its membership should be. And for these reasons, it adopted radical measures and reforms, because as I mentioned before, a common basic public policy is fundamental in coping with future challenges that are presented to our member states. So the decisions need to be taken in the same direction to adapt it and make it a reality in an atmosphere of consensus. So our position as a EU member does not lose sight of the fact that the consolidation of democracy within our country has been achieved due to both the improvement of Greece's political culture and the European institutional environment. However, the aim of boosting the economy has not paid off since the debt crisis. Greece needed to improve the capacity and effectiveness of the government to implement policies, and so it did. It implemented deep structural reforms and cuts in policy fields such as taxation, public administration, labor market, and financial sector. And also with the creation of an independent tax collector, it reduced tax evasion, and the National Authority of Transparency led to undertake anti-corruption measures. However, the initiative has to come from both sides, we think, and not only should Greece succeed in the improvement and reform of internal policy, but also must policies and the agenda within the European Union be led at addressing today's challenges of all member states. And we think that as a community, we have to focus on the cohesion of all countries. We will focus on that within the multi-annual financial framework, and to diminish inequality and continue to make policies to promote the Union's single market.
Okay. Next is France. The floor is yours.
So as a representative of France, I just would like to stress the importance for us of the cohesion policy and the common agriculture policy within the multi-annual financial framework for 2021-2027. As you know, traditionally, these two are the largest budget headings, and because of it, the conflict between net contributors and net recipients in the EU around the allocation to these funds or to these two policies is greater, and it's harder to agree on a ceiling for them. Therefore, I want to address that and just say that we believe, as France, that it's an especially important topic to talk about and to discuss, and that we should not rush to a conclusion in these fields, and that every aspect of the common agricultural policy is important. And about the overall ceiling of the multi-annual financial framework that the Commission proposed. We think it's a little bit too high, and we would rather reduce it or maintain the previous ceiling of the budget of 2014-2020. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Please get closer to the microphones, because if not, it won't be recorded for the review of the session. Okay, so please, the representative of Croatia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As the representative of Croatia, I would like to start by saying that this is likely to be the most consequential multi-annual financial framework in the history of the European Union. All of our countries experienced the horrors of the COVID-19 pandemic, and our economies are only now beginning to recover from the losses. In these tough times, and while it's tempting to turn our backs on each other and focus on ourselves, we as Croatia think that now more than ever, it's vital that we work as a union and as equals today. We would also like to say that this hardship equally means that now is not the time to turn our backs on the finances of this union. If we have a strong financial mechanism to recover and fund our plans for development, we will all go stronger together. We therefore do not fully believe this deal from the European Commission is appropriate with regards to its cuts to specific policies. So Croatia has only been a member of this union since 2013. We are the newest member, and we've received the least investment from the union because of this. But nevertheless, in our 8 years of membership, and due to the access to critical funds such as the Common Agricultural Policy and the Cohesion Funds, we have become one of the fastest growing economies in the European bloc. We've invested in our infrastructure, our transport, our industries, and most importantly, in our people, and we're already seeing the benefits of this. And so to member states who are skeptical of maintaining a strong financial commitment to this union, I would ask, why do we stop here? When Croatia grows, Europe grows as well, and now is not the time to turn our backs on the policies that we know that work. As a group, we're facing new challenges every year, from the coronavirus pandemic to climate, and these are common issues for all of us. These challenges also compel us not to support one another and to not punish those of us that are less capable of dealing with these problems as directly as other member states. We also see that Euroscepticism is on the rise in our countries, and Croatia is no exception to this. That's why it's important to show now more than ever what the EU does for our citizens. As a delegation, we support strongly this Commission, but now we think it's time for the Commission to also show a strong commitment to us as well. In our times of need, I hope that each of the member states here today can reach an agreement that works for all of us, and without turning our backs on the values of growth and equality. We would also like to say these challenges provide new opportunities for both Croatia and this union more generally. For example, through the investment of the cohesion funds, Croatia is currently in the middle of a strong digital revolution, and the investment from this union is setting us up to be a global leader in this issue, and this will have incredible effects for both our people and this union more broadly. So in this light, we also think it's important to mention the value of competitiveness, and that's being absolutely vital for our growth of this union. So as countries outside of Europe increase their industrial strengths, it's more important that we do this as well. And we think that one of the best ways to do this is through simplification rather than complication of our market industries, for example, agriculture. When we're free to adapt to the market, we are more competitive and have greater rewards. And in the end, these rewards benefit all of us. And so to conclude, I want to remind member states that before we start this debate, we should all work for the continued growth of Europe. Thank you.
Okay, the representative of Croatia. Next, please, Poland. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon to everyone and each of you. As the representative of the Republic of Poland, I would like to mention our position in the conversations we're about to have. It is no secret that Poland is actually the biggest beneficiary of the overall funds and all economic aids that come from the European Union. But we of course are very grateful of that, but we like to focus on the positives, which mean that due to the increases in budgets and the amount that is destined for us, we have experienced an amazing and astounding growth in our economical activity, and especially in our underdeveloped areas. Therefore, we vouch for either the overall budget, the agricultural fund especially, to either stay the same or be increased in a considerable percentage, especially if we take into consideration and account the problems we are facing with the coronavirus, as of course all sorts of economical activities have been to put to rest and been stopped due to a pandemic that we are all facing. We would like to try to make the richer countries empathize with some others. Well, and also it is no lie, I believe we are all up to date with current politics in my country, the Republic of Poland. We would like these negotiations to go over as smoothly and amicably as it is possible, but of course we will not shy away from vetoing proposals that we think are simply not in the best interest of the European Union. Thank you.
Okay, please, the representative of Portugal, the floor is yours.
As a representative of Portugal, at the beginning of 2020, Portugal, as well as the rest of the European countries, had to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and its consequences for the economy and the social system. European funds are so essential to provide support in the short term and to provide a sustainable development in the long term. In addition, the country's economy is characterized by a high level of public debt, as other European countries, that the pandemic has made even worse. For these reasons, Portugal supports the initial Commission's proposal to increase the budget to 1.11 trillion euros. About the own resources, today the 71% of the Union's budget is composed of the revenues from the Member States' contributions, based on the gross national income. However, in order to support this increase of the budget, Portugal agrees with the introduction of new own resources, such as the carbon tax, the plastic own resources, or the taxation on foreign multinationals operating in Europe. Regarding the allocation of funds to the Common Agricultural Policy, the country's position is to increase the CAP budget. The main priorities of the country are sustainability and modernization. In order to face the climate crisis and reach the goals established by the European Green Deal, the entire agricultural sector must be rethought in a sustainable way. There is a long process that requires adequate funding. For example, the fishing industry plays a very important role in the Portuguese economy, so part of the European funds will be used to ensure the responsible development of this sector. However, Portugal does not deny that the CAP is a controversial issue, and it knows that the European Union funds can contribute to fraud and corruption. For this reason, the country supports the introduction of a conditionality mechanism, also to avoid the deficiencies in the area of the rule of law. Regarding the cohesion and structural funds, Portugal supports again the Commission proposal. A major reduction of these funds would be not sustainable for the country, which is facing a difficult recovery after the pandemic on both the social and economic aspects. And about the research and innovation and connecting Europe, also Portugal supports the Commission proposal to increase the budget compared to the EMFF 2014-2020. The country considers innovation and digitalization as main issues, with the need to improve competitiveness and promote structural transformation. And about the rebates, Portugal doesn't support the maintenance of the correction systems for two main reasons. One is the absence of defined criteria to establish when a contribution to the European's budget is excessive, and the lack of a mechanism to establish when a member state qualifies for a correction or not. So Portugal, about the rebates, agrees with the Commission proposal of phasing out the current rebates over time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, the representative of Sweden, please.
As a representative of Sweden, our position toward the new European budget is to change the perspective from which policies have been approached until now. We want a modern, effective, efficient, and sustainable European budget. As the most sustainable country, we want to lead the green policies and to encourage the less countries want to join this cause and make it their priority. We are in a climate crisis. The fund of this multi-annual financial framework should be reduced, so in our point of view, we can reach the European objectives with a smaller budget. We just have to improve the allocation of the last budget. As I said before, making this budget more efficient and competitive. The CAP is one of the main spending areas in the budget and has to be discussed, so just 10% of the Swedish citizens take direct benefit from this policy. So later, we will want to propose a decreasing of this part of the budget. And finally, as some countries have expressed their desire to abolish the correction systems, we will want to debate the importance of this to balance the budget. Thank you.
Okay,
Good
thank you
afternoon,
very
everybody.
much. Next, the representative of Ireland. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As a representative of Ireland, we like to welcome everybody. We estimate the presidency proposal of 1.1% as a fair one. And we need to remember that with the next generation EU funds and this MFF signed, if the proposal is accepted, this combined figure will form a 1.8 trillion and will be the largest budget EU has had ever. As a country that has a growing economy and a full employment, we totally agree to expand our tribution to the MFF. As true believers in the European project, which we ourselves are a clear example of. But there's no way we can accept willingly the cuts in the returning funds we are proposed, especially in the agricultural field. We refuse the proposal as unacceptable because the future and viability of the Irish farming depends on it. Now more than ever, with the breakthrough of United Kingdom with the departure of the United Kingdom from the Union, a situation that we still adapting nowadays. About conditionality in certain areas, we think this session should study new options and address. We have to address too the subject of rebates. Now the main rebate of the United Kingdom had disappeared. We think that the countries here present should start viewing them as one kind of a measure of the past and start working for a new deal in this area for the future. Ireland remains one of the most efficient at applying for absorbing and using the EU funds among the EU members, according to the annual reports of the Union Courts of Auditors. In 2017, Ireland drew down 297 million in funds totally, allocated in the current budget period, while the same 926 remains unclaimed. The outstanding commitment represents 1.2% of government expenditure. We worried that the lateness of such spending reflects poor planning, unrealistic expectations, and will complicate budget management. For example, in 2017, we found that Poland and Italy, whose claim allocations run in 33 billion and 21 billion respectively, are unacceptable. In Poland's case, some 17% of its annual government spending. The underclaiming by member states reflects the number of different problems that need to be addressed by Commission in its budget planning. And to finish, I want to quote a phrase of Klaus Heinlein, the court's president of the EU, that said, "We have to be realistic about what we can achieve with the money we entrust the EU. If we generate expectations which cannot be achieved, we lose credibility in the eyes of our citizens." Thank you.
Thank you very much, the representative of Ireland. Next, it would be the Netherlands. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Regarding the actions that are going to be taken, Concerning the EU budget, the Netherlands underlines that its position as a regular net contributor to the budget and is against any extreme extension and/or increase that would hurt its economy. Given the depth of the post-COVID-19 economic crisis, member states would have to devote a larger share of their national resources to the EU budget. Additional funds for the EU, regardless of how they are financed, will thus strain national budgets even further. We will not and cannot support any policy that is not sustainable in the long term. Moreover, Brexit requires a downward adjustment of the MFF. A smaller EU implies a smaller budget. We aim to cut existing policies in order to fund new priorities, as well as to deal with the consequences of the withdrawal of the United Kingdom. It must be avoided that Brexit leads to disproportionately high costs for other member states and an increase in transfers. Funding the MFF must be fair, transparent, and simple. We understand the wishes and needs of our fellow member states within the EU, and we are committed to ensuring cooperation within the Union. Therefore, we do understand the importance of ensuring the stability of the EU as a whole. In this session, we hope to negotiate the ways through which we can modify the existing programs so that we can reach our goals collectively in the most efficient way possible. We underline the importance of focusing on research and development programs. In the context of the new MFF, research and innovation constitutes one of the priorities that deserve to be reflected stronger. The Netherlands assesses the Commission's Horizon Europe proposal mainly positively. Programs like these enable us to efficiently support innovation and research and development projects all over the Union. We believe that we can do better as a union. We can not only shape our future through research and innovation, but we can also become the global leader in this promising field. We must focus on Europe's competitive position on the international scale, and we believe it is possible to create more impact with the funds allocated through mission orientation and citizens' involvement. With that being said, we also believe that in order to allocate the necessary resources to research and development programs, it will be necessary for us to cut funding from other programs, such as the Common Agricultural Policy. We believe that the cap must definitely be modified to allow for more comprehensive perspective on the policies regarding the European agricultural sector. And we must focus on our long-term goals, ensure that we support sustainable and greener agricultural practices. As for the correction systems, we're strongly in favor of their maintenance. We believe, as one of the largest net contributors to the budget for some years now, the rebates ensure the correction and compensation of our contributions. We would like to remind everyone, once again, of the importance of focusing on programs that will enable us to build a better future and make sure we can follow our goals in the long term. We must make sure that our goals align with the greater good of our union, work efficiently and together to achieve them, and we must do it now. We believe it is the responsibility of each member state to oversee and protect others' interests. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next will be Lithuania. Please go ahead, the floor is yours.
Dear colleagues and heads of member states, let me start with a small example of when we start at the international system, and when we look at the international system right now, it seems to be more important than ever as European member states to move closer together and to become more autonomous at the same time, because the hegemonic power of the USA, our longtime ally, has been crumbling for many years. So, and especially during the presidency of Donald Trump, they lost a lot of influence, especially in Asia and Africa. And at the same time, we see a radical and inhuman China rising up and gaining more political power and influence globally. And for that reason, to secure and save the European values for our future generation, I think it's very important for us as Europeans to become more independent and to grow all together. And that's why I think, and the position of Lithuania states that the cohesion policy should still remain an important part of the EU budget, because we think only if the individual member states can individually grow, we can ultimately grow and become stable as a union at whole. So for that case, I think the proposal of the Commission, or we as Lithuania think that the proposal is insufficient, and we'd like to at least remain the budget in that area or even raise it. So that's the cohesion policy. Another very important issue for the Lithuanians is the CAP, especially in regards of the direct payments for farmers, because the actual Commission's proposal, if we like compromise on this, Lithuanian farmers would receive 25% less direct payments in comparison to the average of EU. So in the negotiations of that topic, we would like to compromise on a fair way on a fair distribution of these direct payments. And yes, in addition to these two topics, also the European Connecting European Facility is a very important topic for us, because in our point of view, we have to really focus on issues like energy supply and good transports, and to become independent in these areas to save our fundamental values of European Union. And that's the three most important positions for the Lithuanian society. In the other issues, we'd like to stay open, and yeah, we also want to be open to the fundamental wishes of other states. And yeah, let us grow together, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, the representative of Lithuania. Now it's the turn of Finland. Please, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon. As the representative for Finland, we propose to preferably lower or maintain the overall size of the budget. We do not have a specific amount in mind, but we are open to debating what our fellow member states believe is best for us and reaching consensus. Finland believes that reallocating the current funds is the best course of action for the Union as a whole, instead of increasing the budget. Due to the pandemic, we believe all fellow members are not in the position to just keep spending money that we know will most likely be wasted. Our top priority right now is protecting and taking care of our citizens and getting over the bad patch in the economy brought on by the pandemic. We believe that we should focus on better management of the funds and the budget instead of an increase in the budget. Finland is open to hearing out what fellow member states have to say regarding the funding of the CAP, but we have a strong position on keeping conditionalities for it, since it has been known to be misused before. The cohesion and structural policies are important to Finland, as it is basically giving member states with less development the tools they need to get what they need, and also it fosters economic growth in Europe as a whole. We believe that these policies are the most explicit expression of EU values of solidarity and community, and we believe we should increase the budget for those funds. In addition, we believe that investing in cohesion and structural policies is the best way for Europe to recover from the pandemic and its economic challenges. And we also hope that we can come to an agreement on how to distribute the budget that works for all of us. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, representative of Finland, thank you very much. Now it's turn for Bulgaria. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. One of the fathers of the European movement, Jean Monnet once said that beyond our differences and our geographical boundaries, there lies a common interest. And we believe that the common interest of the European Union in the midst of the COVID crisis is to help rebuild the economies of member states through this multi-annual financial framework and also through Next Generation EU. For it's our belief that when we recover as individual member states, we recover as a whole. Yet it's imperative that we recover together, that no states are left behind. If there's one thing that we've learned about this pandemic and about public health crises, it's that there are winners and many more losers. Whilst the wealth of billionaires rose by 62% during the COVID crisis, Oxfam has reported that 70% more people within the EU have made urgent appeals for economic aid. And so we, as the Republic of Bulgaria, are determined to ensure that this MMF supports symmetrical recovery and growth from the east to the west and the north to the south of Europe. Only cohesive and unified recovery throughout Europe will strengthen our union. Asymmetrical growth poses the risk of furthering the divide between larger and smaller economies within the EU. As has been reported by the OECD survey on the EU, and I quote, "A weak recovery could threaten the cohesion of the EU, with asymmetrical divergence having the potential to leave scars and reopen cold wounds." As such, it is critical that after the greatest recession in the history of our union, with GDP falling by 6.3% in 2020, that we utilise the mechanisms within this MMF in order to recover from the ground up. Bulgaria's primary interests remain a strong commitment to the common agricultural policy and to cohesion funds, which we look forward to discussing later in the negotiation. We also believe that there are creative ways to improve the efficiency of these mechanisms through not only research and innovation, but also a reallocation of administrative resources. We believe that the way in which we can achieve this recovery and the way in which we can deliver the needs of our people is by appealing to the founding principle of this very union, namely consensus. It is through consensus that we have preserved peace, promoted trade, and recovered from the financial crises in previous years. Now it is time to re-embrace this principle. I shall end my statement by referring to a quote from Alcide de Gasperi, the former Prime Minister of Italy and another bastion of the European movement. He said, "The future will not be built through force, nor the desire to conquer, but by the patient application of the democratic method, the constructive spirit of agreement, and by respect for freedom." There will inevitably be disagreements throughout our negotiation, but we will strive to reach an agreement, so long as it is in the interest of the Republic of Bulgaria and the Union as a whole. We look forward to hearing the remainder of the statements and to the negotiation later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it's time for Slovakia. The floor is yours.
Okay, so speaking as a member of as the representative of Slovakia in the negotiations today, I just want to outline a little bit about Slovakia and our general position. So Slovakia has been a member state of the European Union since the 1st of May 2004, and we have made great strides since joining the Union. For example, in a speech by José Manuel Barroso in 2014, it stated that Slovakia was the fastest among the Visegrad group of countries to catch up with more prosperous economies, with per capita income rising from 57% of the EU average in 2004 to 76% in 2012. This shows that the EU has been a very important aspect of our growth as a country. And as many have outlined already, it's important to note that we've gone through exceptional circumstances in the recent history. For example, Slovakia's economy is forecast to shrink 10% this year, with unemployment expected to rise from around 5% to 8 to 9% in 2021. So I think it's very important now, from the Slovakian perspective, to focus on more traditional resources in the EU in order to aid economic recovery post-pandemic and post-Brexit. So to begin with, I'm just going to talk a little bit about each of the motions that we've previously discussed.
So in terms of the overall size of the budget, Slovakia stands in favour of increasing the budget rather than shrinking it, given the exceptional circumstances that we've had thus far, and even the fact that as after the leaving of the UK, we have a breach that we need to fill, and now is the time not to cut back in the face of this, because this will only harm us further. And then in terms of introduction to own resources, we are in favour of introducing them. We think that, as was outlined by the Parliament, the suggestion by the Commission of raising the GNI was not enough, so we think we could possibly even go further than that. And we think that many will be in agreement with us. In terms of the CAP, we are in favour of increasing the CAP because it's a very important part of the budget, which is why it takes up so much of it. And it's important to support farmers, especially because it's a very unattractive position, which we will expand on later on in the discussions. And in terms of conditionality, we are against conditionality, considering we think that it will make the application of the CAP less efficient. That we should have a lot of agreement in this area, especially because there was a proposal put forward by Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Finland, Greece, Hungary, Latvia, Malta, and Romania, which were all in favour of, we're not in favour of introducing conditionality under the CAP, as it's only one policy, and it would put too much of a burden in this area, and that it might be possible to put in a different area. And then further on from this, in terms of cohesion and structural funds, these are really important, and we are against the proposed cut by the Commission, because these funds are extremely necessary for the developing nations or the less developed nations within the EU in terms of supporting them. And then further to this, the allocation of funds to research and innovation within the cohesion and structural funds. We are happy to accept the Commission's proposal in this instance, as we believe they are sufficiently funded. And then in terms of the Connecting Europe Fund, it's extremely important for us, especially because we will environmentally benefit from it, but also it'll just aid interconnectedness and European spirit within Central and Eastern Europe especially. And then in terms of administration, we take a stance of status quo. Again, we are happy to accept the Commission's proposal in this area. And in terms of the correction mechanisms, or more colloquially known, the rebates, we have a mixed opinion on the rebates. We are not in favour of the proposed augmentation of the rebates as set out by the Commission. And so in order to conclude, Slovakia's overall position is that of increasing funds which enhance infrastructure development and support agriculture. We do not support social conditionality or large increases in rebates. We are aligned with the Commission proposals on the funding of research and innovation and funding for administration. In essence, Slovakia favours traditional areas of investment within the EU. Thank you.
Okay, you almost took your 5 minutes. It's okay. Czech Republic, the floor is yours.
Dear colleagues, dear comrades, so today we meet to discuss the multi-annual framework of the EU. First of all, let me give you some general information about the situation in my country. The Czech Republic is divided into 14 regions, and there is still nowadays a significant difference between the north and the south in terms of economy, social inequality, infrastructure, unemployment rate, and not to forget to mention the overall satisfaction. Our main goal is to minimize this difference over the next few years through various of cohesion policies. But for now, let me continue with some other numbers about the acceptance of the EU in my country. The number of people who actively support the EU slightly decreased compared with the previous years. Generally speaking, it is a phenomenon that can be seen in all states due to COVID. 35% of the people living here support the European Union, and 25% derive their support to the EU from the current perception of the economic and political situation. Consequently, it can be said that 60% of the Czech people would actively support the EU membership in a referendum. 5 years ago, only 1/4 of the population wanted to stay in the European Union. When there was the Brexit, we had even the idea in a public discussion to introduce the Czechsit. Yeah. But nowadays, luckily, the perception has changed to the positive. One reason for this is the improving economy. Talking about trade and economy, the most important sectors of the Czech Republic economy in 2008 were industry with 30%, wholesale and retail trade 90%, public administration, defense, education with 15%. Intra-EU trade accounts for 84% of the Czech Republic exports. In terms of imports, 76% come from EU member states. These numbers show us that we are at least economically dependent on the European Union. And we are even in favor to strengthen this kind of relations within the Union. Since 2004, the Czech Republic received over 56 billion euro through EU funds, while contributing to the EU budget almost 24.7 billion. This means that by the end of 2019, the Czech Republic received over 32 billion net profit. In summary, the Czech Republic has been contributing more and more money to the budget since 2007, while revenue have remained at a steady level since 2011, which were between 4 and 5 billion. Our 17 years of membership have led to a significant increase in the prosperity of our country. For example, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the entire Union at 2.6%. Furthermore, we have managed to continuously reduce greenhouse emissions in recent years, and at the same time significantly increase the construction of renewable energies, what puts us in a good position in terms of climate change for the future. Like many other countries, our country has been hit hard by COVID. By intervening in our national tax system, we were able to increase the healthcare capacity in short term. Nevertheless, the lockdowns in particular had not left us unscathed. The forecast for the GDP is minus 4% in 2021. So our country is very dependent from the EU MFF, and we are not in favor for lowering the budget. Finally, as a representative of Czech Republic, I plead that we should make a systematic and coordinated effort to significantly increase the proportion of centrally managed programs, as this is where the longer-term futures lies from our perspectives, and we should be less calculating when negotiating and far more constructive in terms of coming up with new ideas and solutions for ways to optimize the EU's limited resources. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Hungary, please. The floor is yours.
From Hungary, hello everybody. From Hungary, we are against the reduction of the budget, of the new budget proposed by the Commission, because we think that we have a very high coronavirus crisis, and we think that is now more than ever so important that maintain or increase our MFF. From Hungary, we ask for a more economic union, not so values and human values proposed by some countries. We ask for more sustainability in economic politics, and for this reason, we don't want to reduce the budget. We are for anything politic that takes more efficiently, and we ask for accept our pluralities in the European Union. We have in Hungary so high taxes about Euroscepticism, and we want to continue in the economic European Union, and for this reason we ask for the reduction and the maximum levels of administration and correction funds, because we do not let the European Union has our sovereignty, and we think that our correction systems encourage do not help our country in this economic growth. From Hungary, we hope to reach agreements in the final session about this commission, and we are for reaching an agreement. And for this reason, we are going to make proposals in the different funds, because we don't want more skepticism, and we want to continue in the European Union. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the next in line is Slovenia. Please, the floor is yours.
Hello, colleagues. I'd like to start by recognizing that since 2004, when Slovenia joined the European Union, that since then we've benefited a lot from cooperating with other states, the other states of our union, and we hope to work together to enjoy such progress in the future. We have already made huge strides towards a greener and more competitive economy, a more fair society. And we believe that these EU policies that we shall discuss today have been essential to our growth. As such, we argue that the budget for the MFF should be increased, as proposed by the others here today. We are in favour of the introduction of the collection of funds through own resources. For example, we propose a national contribution based on the common consolidated tax base, a share of the revenues generated by the EU emissions trading system, and a national contribution based on the quantity of non-recycled plastic package waste generated in each member state. The Commission estimates that these new resources could account for nearly 14% by 2007, and we think that they're a very real possibility for maintaining our budget. Budget cuts have been strongly applied on the cohesion policy and the EU's common agricultural policy. We oppose these cuts to these essential policies, as they've made up the backbone of the EU since its foundation. As a nation, we have identified the cohesion policy as the policy area of key interest for Slovenia within the Union. The EU cohesion policies are the area in which Slovenia works most closely with Europe and in which we receive the most EU funding. Slovenia is divided into 2 cohesion regions, and our less developed region of Eastern Slovenia has GNI per capita of 73% of the EU average, and as such the cohesion policy is incredibly important for the continued development of this region and other regions such as this throughout the Union. We also propose that the budget for the Common Agricultural Policy be maintained. People working in agriculture accounted for 4.2% of total employment in the EU in 2016, corresponding to nearly 10 million people, and agriculture is a particularly big employer in Slovenia. 10% of all workers are employed in the agricultural sector. As such, this is not an area which we believe that we can defund now. We recognise that there needs to be some reform in the CAP in order to ensure that it remains viable and efficient. As such, we support the introduction of conditionalities to the Common Agricultural Policy. Other current priority areas which we have identified are filling infrastructure gaps, improved digitalization and railway connectivity, and developing more sustainable infrastructure. We are also in favour of increasing funding around migration and security and innovation. We are although we are against rebates by principle, we recognise that
for many countries, this is an issue on which they are not willing to budge, and as such, we are willing to compromise on this issue in hopes of that they will compromise on the funds of the Cohesion Fund and Common Agricultural Policy. I look forward to hearing what the rest of you have to say. Thank you very much.
You almost got your full 5 minutes, 20 seconds left. I was about to remind you. Good, thank you very much. Next would be Spain. So please, representative of Spain, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank everyone for attending here today to discuss these such serious matters. We believe that this next multi-annual financial framework should shape our vision of a stronger and more integrated Europe. We have to deliver the commitments we already made in Rome of making a stronger European Union and more resilient through an even greater unity and solidarity amongst us and respect of the common rules. We find that across the years, the European Union budget has succeeded in both fostering the cohesion and improving the function of our common market. This has been central throughout the years, and we believe that this should be on the near and long-term future. We have to respond to the needs of different important policy areas, such as migration, border control, internal and external security, climate change, desertification, demographic challenge, etc. But our priorities are the support of modern and sustainable agriculture and reforms in this fight against the climate change, as well as promoting the cohesion policies that we find ourselves that they are the most important. First of all, the common agricultural policy is deeply linked to the function of the internal market, and it has an undeniable European value that we must preserve. Being this one of the few genuinely common policies, this should remain on the European budget, and we oppose any decrease that this may suffer and that was proposed by the Commission. We also we expected to have a higher budget. We are not happy with the current one. We expected it to be closer to 1.5 trillion instead of the presented one. We also have other policies, as we said, that we consider important around growth and employment. Then regarding the own resources system, we believe that we find ourselves in front of an opportunity to change the way it's been working until now, especially regarding the rebates that we should eliminate and establish a more efficient system, which might be related to the GNE resource, and we will make sure that each country is contributing more to their financial capabilities. Also, regarding a last topic on the administration, we believe that we also find ourselves upon an opportunity to make a change and make it more efficient, so we dispose of more resources on other areas that we consider the most important, as we already said, being the cohesion policies and the common agricultural ones. We are flexible on other policies, but on these ones is our absolute priorities, and that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, the representative of Spain. Now it's turn for Austria. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Guten Nachmittag to all my fellow member states. Today I'm here as the representative of the Österreich Republic, here known as the Republic of Austria. I want to start today by stating that Austria firmly believes in this project of the Union. Since our entrance to this Union in 1995, this institution has meant a lot of growth for us. But although Austria has benefited a lot, it also has been given much. Therefore, we believe this MFF represents a chance for reforming how we constitute its various areas of the EU funding. Austria sees this MFF with positive overview and will strongly advocate for research and innovation, green policies, a reform and more efficient cap, a fair ceiling, and the existence of rebates. Furthermore, the situation we face now is crucial. We have a big deficit, financially speaking, but also socially speaking, due to the COVID crisis that has struck the EU heavily. This present crisis we face means that member states will have to redirect a larger part of their national income to the EU budget at a time of a global crisis. The forecast is tense, difficult, and complex. It is present in Austria's beliefs, our commitment to a better Europe financial system and a thriving environment for all members where democracy and equality is always reached. Therefore, we offer an openness to cooperating with all members, not without forgetting Austria's rights and principles. The COVID crisis, however, is not our only concern. Austria wants to stress the major importance that we have in paving a way into a greener future. And it's one of our main priorities that today will become a cornerstone in our joint battle against global warming. To finish my brief presentation, I want to clarify that although my country has been dubbed one of the frugal fours, it is important to remember that being frugal does not mean that we are any less committed to the EU than those member states who are arguing for an expanded budget. On the contrary, our commitment to the EU is as strong as ever. The success of the European project is measured by our ability to deliver our political ambitions and achieve tangible results for our citizens, not by the size of the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to finalize the first round, before the Commission expresses its own position, it's the turn for Italy. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to underline the importance of the European Union. We are a groupation of countries, we have a free market, and we share similar democratic values. This groupation is very important as we have the same goals, and we have to reach an agreement through discussions, but we must avoid confrontation. This is very important because nowadays the Eurosceptics are rising, so we must make our statement clear and loud. On the other part, I would like to present my positions regarding the MFF funds budget. First of all, Italy argues in favor of a substantial increase of the budget within the next multi-annual financial framework. In one hand, Brexit is a new challenge for us all, and we need to upset this loss in order to counter the unforeseen consequences in the most affected member states and sectors. On the other hand, the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic crisis completely changed the landscape of the European Union, provoked to fail to find an agreement, and created the need to increase funds even more. Italy, following the same strategy regarding the overall size of the European Union budget presented before, demands again an increase within the next multi-annual financial framework. And the Commission presented European Union Recovery Instrument, the Next Generation Funds, and Italy is in favor also. To conclude my intervention, as we will not deal with this topic, I would like to introduce the migration and border management policy. This topic is very important and it would be very interesting to discuss it in another negotiation. Italy, and I suppose also the southern countries of the European Union, are more interested in discussing this policy than any another policy, as we are the ones who are suffering more from the consequences of migrations. The government of Italy, as I speak in name of the southern countries, would like to call for a solidarity in managing mass migration, and the burden has to be shared among the European Union countries to show our same goals and to show again our democratic values that we share. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, representative of Italy. Now, before we take a short break in order to reflect on our fellow representatives' interventions and words, I'd like to bring up a few elements that need to be considered while we negotiate this multi-annual financial framework, okay? The Commission has, well, first of all, all of the representatives need to keep in mind that this is not like a picture, it's more something in motion, meaning that this is a 6-year framework, and the temporary or the time variable needs to be taken into consideration because what we have now, we know after we've experienced the coronavirus crisis that can change all of a sudden, and we will not be able to, if we are not flexible, if we are not willing to cooperate, we cannot make moves, you know, we don't have that flexibility. So keep that in mind. This is a 6-year multi-annual framework, meaning that we have to keep the time variable in time. The Commission is presenting a proposal that is, behind this proposal, the idea is to start to change certain habits. Okay, we have certain policies that have been on track for many years that need to be reviewed or let's say reformulated, a little bit reshaped in many ways. We have an issue concerning our own resources. We still we need the contribution of most of the member states, but I think times are approaching when we need to get our own resources, essentially because due to the coronavirus crisis, we've developed these next generation funds that most of you or some of you were pointing out. And don't forget that this means that for the first time in our history, we will be absorbing debt collectively. Therefore, we need to find new ideas on the new resources, and this is something that needs to be taken into consideration. Okay? As I said, new challenges are arriving. Some of you, especially the southern countries, were mentioning the mass immigration problem. We heard the Irish representative talking about border control due to the Brexit, and some of you pointing out the fact that the UK is not among us anymore. And this is something that we need to take into consideration. With all that said, and with all taking the next generation funds, taking the new challenges into consideration, we don't have a machine to print money. We do, but it's not the best way of approaching the current situation. So, with all that said, I want you to to keep in your minds that we have a job at hand. We have to accept certain realities. And again, keep in mind that this is like a picture in motion, okay? We need to think about the next 6 years, and we need to create a framework that allows us the opportunity to be flexible when hard times come, as we know, because we suffered an economic crisis less than 15 years ago, and we're still suffering a health crisis with coronavirus. So with that in mind, please, let's take let's say 7 minute break. Okay, at 4:25 we are back in maybe 10-minute break. At 4:25 where everybody should be here again, and we will start discussing the different blocks. Okay, thank you for the time, and see you in 10 minutes.
Sorry, could we just hear the topics again, like the chronology?
Yes, sorry. The first block will be ceiling and new resources. Okay, we will discuss the overall size of the budget and the possibility of introducing new resources or not into the budget, the multi-annual framework. The second block would be the one regarding administration, like how much do we need to spend on our own public servants and all the overall structure of the European Union. Third block would be all about cohesion funds. Cohesion funds, and especially the overall size of the cohesion funds. And again, how do we distribute these funds in putting special attention to the research and innovation heading and the Connecting Europe heading, okay? This will be the block 3. The fourth block is the CAP, okay? Size. And also, in this way of moving the budget forward and moving the European Union forward, we think about the element of conditionality regarding the CAP. You know, the public, the social rights, and the green approach to the policy. And finally, because we want to reframe or reshape the European Union, we must talk about correction systems. We will talk about the rebates, and we need to make a decision regarding this controversial element. So please keep that in mind. Clear? Okay, see you in 7 minutes.
Hola.
Okay, then. Well, while we wait for some of the representatives to arrive, this first block it concerns us probably the most because it's the one that's going to give us the overall picture of what's at hand. And what I believe it's important is that everybody here realizes or provides with strong arguments their positions, meaning if you are hoping that the budget to be increased, it would help us, the Commission, if you tell us how are you planning to increase it, okay? With that said, I don't know if somebody wants to take the word on this. Anybody willing to start? Who's happy with the proposal that we presented? The one from the Commission. Nobody's happy, but nobody wants to speak and take the floor. That's actually quite interesting. Belgium, yes, you proposal. Please.
Okay. We in Belgium, we agree with the Commission proposal. We have to consider that it's an increase from the past MFF, a big increase, even if it's not the amount that everybody would desire to have it. In the conditions that we are in the COVID-19 situation, we feel that this amount is the correct one for overcoming the process, the pandemic, and to reach long-term objectives in the economic and in the political way.
Okay, the representative of Lithuania wants to say something. Let me remind you, sorry, I forgot. You have 20 minutes to discuss this topic.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Okay, and the proposal is about 1.1 trillion euros. So I wanted to clarify that.
Precisely, it's 1.1 trillion. Lithuania, please, floor is yours.
Thank you. We are from Lithuania. I think this proposed 1.11 trillion euros are insufficient. We'd like the budget to be raised because, as we and also other member states stated before, there are many problems and issues we need to work on in the future. So we believe that sufficient budget should be raised. So we would recommend at least 1.2% of the GDI from every member state. And yeah, as I stated, the proposal is insufficient in our eyes. Thank you.
You will be talking about 1.2, 1.12 or 1.
No, 1.2% of the GDI. So I don't know what would be the exact amount, but I'd like to raise the percentage that every country contributes.
Okay, are we all happy with this proposal? I see Spain wants to say something, and then the Netherlands. Okay, Spain, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We propose a greater recovery fund. We are estimating that to carry out all the policies that efficiently, especially on this context of coming out of or still on an economic and sanitary crisis, our numbers we expect a rise towards around the 1.5 trillion euros. As I said, in line with the great effect that this crisis has caused. And regarding the own resources that my colleague, representative of Lithuania, just said, we think this should be carefully assessed, as if these are introduced without proper criteria, this could affect the good functioning of the internal market and ensure the fulfillment of efficiency criteria that we are all seeking. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Netherlands, please.
We do not think that increasing the budget from the proposition, like the proposed amount, is in any way sustainable or could actually enable us to carry out the policy proposals more efficiently. We believe that, as stated previously by Finland, focusing on the management of the budget is more important than actually just giving out money. We are in favor of either maintaining it or even cutting it by 10%.
Okay, Slovakia wants to make a statement. Yes, please, floor is yours.
Yeah, so Slovakia just wants to disagree with the Netherlands and some of the other countries who call for cutting or maintaining. We are also in favor of increasing, as were some of the previous countries such as Spain, because the overall ceiling of the budget has effects on all parts of the budget. It influences funds like the cohesion fund, the structural funds, and everything else that's important that we will discuss later. And we think that it's really important to bolster these weak areas, and especially in terms of the Next Generation EU and the recovery post-pandemic.
I think Poland raised their hand, and also Hungary. Please, Poland.
Thank you. As the representative of Poland, we would like to say that we back up Slovakia and Lithuania's proposal, as we believe that the budget should be raised. However, we are open to budging our position in settling for even a lower increase or either even keeping it the same. But of course, we have to be accountable for what happened. And 6 years ago, the budget was insufficient. So now, in the present, with even more problems with the COVID-19 pandemic, it is just plain ignorance to claim that we will solve those problems if we try to reduce it even to a 5%. Thank you.
Okay, we will keep the order. So first it will be Hungary, then it will be Greece, then the Netherlands and Ireland, and Belgium and Austria will close.
From Hungary, in relation what Netherlands said, we think that we are not in a common situation. We are making front in an economic crisis about the economic coronavirus, and we think that if we want to reach the efficiency levels asked for some countries like the Netherlands, we have to invest money in our policies, because if we want to implement new policies that reach this efficiency in some of the funds, we need money. And for this reason, we think that it's not like all previous budgets. This is an extraordinary budget to make front the coronavirus crisis we mentioned. Thank you.
Greece, please.
Okay, so Greece just wants to, like, the all member states to consider that, well, especially the ones that want to cut the budget, that we are not supporting an increase of budget for just a misspending of it. You have mentioned the COVID crisis of these 2 years, but we have nowadays we are facing also a climate change crisis, which we have to face, and especially in Greece with the floods and also the wildfires, we think it's a necessity to implement measures to innovation and research. And it is needed more money to solve these problems, because they are like complex and require a lot of resources. So we think that this needs to be in consideration, because it's a problem that it's increasing, and it's in our hands to solve it.
Netherlands, you've been interpelled earlier.
Well, we believe that increasing the budget as proposed by some other member states, at least like it just cannot be done right now, because also the net contributors have suffered from the COVID-19 pandemic as well. And we do not think that by allocating more money into the EU, we can simultaneously work towards recovering. With like our nations just cannot do that. And also we were wondering if there are any member states that who are in favor of increasing the budget, would like to propose an alternative way of sourcing the budget, so that it doesn't have to be a big burden on some states and not as much on others.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Ireland is torn. Then we will go with Austria, right? And Belgium and Slovenia.
Okay, thank you. As the representative of Ireland, I like to remember the representative of Poland that we have the New Generation EU project, budget 2, a part of the MFF. So I think the issue that we have and that we're fronting together with the pandemic are a bit solved by this account. And we think that there can be an agreement in between the 1% that some of the more wealthy countries in this stage want, and the 1.1% that the Commission proposes. And we need to think also that we're facing Brexit issues, particularly us, and remember Netherlands, that the smaller EU, it doesn't mean a smaller budget per se, because now we're facing issues related to being a smaller EU with the departure of the United Kingdom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think it's time for Austria.
Thank you very much. Firstly, we have to not agree with the Commission proposal, as well as with other propositions that has been made in the last minutes. The reasoning behind this decision is the fact that the financial responsibility, as the Netherlands says, of those large amount figures resides in the net contributors, which is a selected amount of countries that are budgeting more than 75% of the overall general budget. So, as we have stated before, the COVID crisis and the obvious reason that the EU is putting too much pressure onto the net contributors to finance such budget, Austria has no option but to dismiss all proposals suggesting any rising. Following recent interactions with Denmark, the Netherlands, Sweden, Austria's position aligns with theirs, coming up with a unified position that stands at 1% of the GDP of each members of the UE to finance the budget. However, on the other hand, we must take into consideration that the negotiation box of the Brussels presidency, Charles Michel, approaches the budget issue with a proposition of 1.07 trillion euros and agree with the Commission on the NGEU plan. And so being this budget the lowest of them and having a rebate position that we find fair and favorable to the primary EU financial members, we could agree on the overall budget of the MFF 2021-2027. However, this is not our preferable choice, as we find our position is a step towards a more democratic and financial system, as it relies on the GDP and not the GNA, so it will consist of an even distribution. So thank you very much.
Okay, Belgium, and then I think it's Slovenia, Slovakia, Denmark, Bulgaria, and Croatia, and then Lithuania the last.
Okay, I understand the position of the countries that want to increase the Commission proposal, but we have to think that the budget is already being increased. The previous budget was 959 billion, and what it's proposed now is 1.07 trillion. We also have to take into account that the UK is no longer in the European Union, and that in addition to the MFF, there is the Next Generation Europe program, which will provide around 800 billion in aid. This is why we think that the Commission's proposal is optimal. And as my colleague of Ireland said before, taking into account the amount that each state has to contribute, we think that 1.1% of the GNP would be the best amount in the situation that we are now.
Okay, Slovenia.
We would like to echo what some of our colleagues have said here today, and that is that we support the increase of the MFF to 1.3% of the GNI of each European country. And in response to what my colleague from the Netherlands said earlier, I would propose the introduction of more own resources, as I was speaking of in my opening speech, and some of those would be a national contribution based on consolidated corporate tax, i.e. on business, a share of revenues generated by EU emissions, and a national contribution based and the quantity of non-recycled plastic packaging waste generated in each member state, and these own resources would also go a long way to incentivize moving towards a greener Europe as well. Thank you. And I would like to say as well that, as I said earlier, the Commission says that these three policies could result for 9, 1.5 and 3.4% of or the own resources budget, and that could add a lot to the available funds that we have for policies. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Slovakia and then Denmark.
So I would just like to address the GNI issue that we've brought up in terms of resources. The Commission's proposal was an increase from 1.03% of the EU's 28 member states GNI to 1.11% of the now 27 EU member states GNI since the UK has left the Union. However, a resolution from the European Parliament, which was adopted in November 2018, argues that such a proposal is insufficient and in terms estimates the ceiling amount to 1.3% of the EU 27 GNI, which I believe should be acceptable considering that we've all passed this resolution as a union. As was cited by many others, the UK has left and its departure will leave a hole in the budget of an estimated 12 to 13 billion euros each year. And I think it's essential that we do not drop the budget or alter it in terms of making it smaller at this time, because while we're recovering, it's very important that we continue to pump money in basically to infrastructure and strengthening the union after what we've just gone through. It's important that we stimulate our economies so that we recover quicker from these issues. And some of the member states that have been advocating against this increase, who are colloquially known as the 1%ers, may not realize, or I think that they should have an account that they do receive rebates for the most part, and some of them actually have fixed VAT rates. So Germany, the Netherlands, and Sweden benefited from fixed VAT call rates of 0.15% in the previous MFF. So I think it's important that, like, we're talking about burdens and stuff, but the load has been lightened in other ways, and there is other methods of repaying these countries from their perceived losses. So thank you.
Okay, Denmark, it's your turn, please. Floor is yours.
Yes, we will have to say that we agree with you that some countries, they are more able to contribute more, and that is why our opinion is that the cost of the budget is maximum 1%, because then the contributions will also be relative to the economy of each country. And as we saw back in 2018, when the European Court of Auditors went through the budget, actually 2.6% of the overall budget was misspent, which equals to around 4 billion euros. And the reason we pick out this example is to state how important it is to control our funding more instead of just keep increasing the budget. Thank you.
I think it's Bulgaria's turn. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's quite clear to see in this discussion that there is a big separation between the member states who are calling for quite a significant cut of 10%, the Netherlands, Austria and Sweden, and the states that are in favour of increasing. For the record, Bulgaria also would prefer an increase from 1.11% GNI to 1.3%, but I think it's quite clear that we're at some sort of impasse here. And so on the condition that the CAP and the cohesion policy are protected and are maintained, which is contrary to the proposed cuts by the Commission, if they are maintained, then Bulgaria would be willing to consider a maintenance in line with the Commission's proposal. So I would like to ask other member states, both those who have suggested a cut and also those who have suggested an increase, whether they would be willing to try and come to this compromise in the name of agreement and consensus, because ultimately that is the most important thing today, as we will discuss earlier in our opening statements.
Croatia, it's your turn. Portugal, I take your word. And we need to, well, after Portugal, I would like to say something as the Commission, and then Finland, we can give a word. Sorry, Croatia?
Yeah, as Croatia, I'd like to second everything said by my Bulgarian colleague there. We do have very diverse opinions within this group. With that said, I do support his proposal of between a 1.1 and 1.15% of GNI proposal for this budget. However, I'd also like to make clear to some of my colleagues, particularly my Irish colleague, that the NGEU should not be seen as something that goes together with the MFF itself, but rather a supplement to combat the big challenge of COVID-19, and should be just seen as a short-term strategy, which is why we also need to increase this budget, as has already been done by the Commission, but slightly further as well, as a long-term strategy to combat the long-term issues with COVID, and also to further development of the European bloc. And with that being said, Croatia is supporting the introduction of new resources into the budget, specifically the plastic and carbon levy. But we would remind the Commission that this should be weighted in terms of the relative strengths of such issues as recycling within countries which are developed in more and developed in less.
Okay, clear. Lithuania?
Perfect. So my colleagues before just said, in my opinion, really good things. I stand in line with them. I wanted to state somehow the same, that maybe because there are these two clear cleavages between like states who want to raise the budget, states who want to lower it, we could maybe compromise on the proposed ceiling of the Commission. That's it actually, and because just a thing, because it was mentioned before, like the difference between net contributors and recipients. I think we shouldn't just stick to the absolute terms of money each state receives. I think the European Union brings us a lot more advantages than we can just see with the money itself. Thank you.
It's time for Portugal.
Yes, thank you. Representing Portugal, I just want to say that an increase of the budget to 1.3% of the GNI is absolutely too ambitious from the European Union right now. It will make it difficult to reach a balance between the expenditure and the revenue. On the other end, so Portugal support the Commission proposal to increase the budget to 1.11% of the GNI. But I think that we have no more time there's no more time left to find a compromise. So Portugal proposed an increase of the budget to 1.05% of the GNI. This is the proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we take more words into consideration or more arguments into consideration, I think I have Finland with the word. I have Greece. Who else was? Well, Sweden, and then the Netherlands and Belgium. Okay, but before that, I'd like to remind you that I'm very interested in hearing all your points of view, and it's very much, I don't know, it's enriching in many ways, but the idea behind this is finalizing an agreement. No? I appreciate the efforts from Bulgaria and some of and now last time Portugal, and also I want to remind you that the Commission has proposed a ceiling for the budget, but also has added, or we have decided to add the Next Generation Fund. So I think with these two instruments, we should be able to reach an agreement in this regard. Okay, so we can see, we can freeze the ceiling and then keep the NG funds proposed. And then see, of course, how the new resources, because we need to finance all this again, you know. So how are we gonna move forward with this? I will hear the last five words, And I hope that after those we can reach an agreement. And if not, we will have to work on a different strategy. Okay? So please, Finland, if you want to make your statement.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Bulgaria, for your proposal. Finland is okay with maintaining the ceiling. However, we do want to touch the CAP budget. We want to maybe some of the funds from the CAP, use them for the cohesion and structural funds. But other than that, I agree with you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Greece.
Okay. So it's important to reach an agreement, of course. We are in favor of the Commission proposal. Also, we want to respond, Netherlands, when you asked for like other ways to finance the union. We are in favor also of the own resources system, and also we want to introduce a proposal that already was introduced, but of the financial transaction tax. This would allow the union to recollect more money, and I think it's a good solution for maintaining the budget, not or maybe increasing a little bit the budget, because we are on a crisis and there are difficult times, but we can maintain it if we get it from own resources and this financial tax. Thank you.
Sweden.
Thank you. Our initial proposal was to decrease the budget in 10%, as the Netherlands said, but we could agree in maintaining the budget if we invest more money in sustainable resources. Justice.
Okay, now I see a little bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. Netherlands, Belgium, and then Slovakia. Okay.
I mean, since our goal here is to reach an agreement and reach to a concrete conclusion, we would be in favor of maintaining the budget, and we would like to propose to other member states who would like to increase the budget instead of directly increasing it. Maybe you would be willing to negotiate and discuss and talk about the reallocation of funds depending on your interests. So which funds would you want more contribution from? Which areas do you care about the most? And then we could talk about that instead of having to increase the whole budget by a very, as the representative of Portugal said, ambitious percentage. And as many other states also mentioned, we are at a time of economic crisis right now. That was never before seen. So just the proposal of the Commission is already an increase from the previous one, and that's why we think that increasing it even further would just be, it just cannot be acceptable on our part.
Okay, Belgium, please.
I completely agree with the representatives of the Netherlands and Portugal, and we think that maintain the Commission proposals in this issue will be profitable for future negotiations in the following issues, because we understand everybody's position, but increasing this amount of money is too ambitious, as the representative of Portugal said. And as we need to reach an agreement, I feel that this proposal from the Commission is the best one, and we will compromise in increasing or not reducing a lot of the budget of the other issues.
Okay, Slovakia.
Yeah, so we would just like to say that we support Bulgaria's position on accepting the maintenance of the funds according to the EU Commission proposal, and the same for the GNI of 1.11%, so long as it doesn't cause any drastic cuts to our priority areas of the CAP and the cohesion policy. So I think that we can make a compromise on this front because the conversation seems to have changed.
Spain?
Yes, thank you. Going online with what Slovakia, Lithuania, and Bulgaria said, we think that we can concede our goals of an increase on the ceiling as long as we guarantee that there will be not cuts on both the common agricultural policy and the cohesion policies. We also, as we mentioned before about the next generation European Union and the MFF, we propose to have a casting of the budget, so there's a progressive manner. We divide the first 3 years that are still affected by the economic crisis and pandemic, having a higher budget on these first 3 years, and then as the effects won't be so of the economic crisis won't be so notable or so direct, we can have a lower budget for the end of the MFF. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? No? Yes? Austria and Hungary. But before Austria takes the floor and then Hungary and Poland, I'd like to kind of close up to where we are. Before these three representatives bring their own opinion, so far it seems that we agree with the proposal of the Commission, okay? But so far so good. I don't know what Austria has to say about that. But nobody has presented, or the way the Commission sees it, if you ask me, is that we can have a budget that is similar to what we proposed, with no much difference. However, if we introduce new resources for financing progressively, year by year, and we can introduce the plastic one first, and then we can introduce in 2023, we can introduce another of the new resources taxes, this budget will be much more balanced in a positive way. So those, contrary of keeping the Commission proposal, keep that in mind. We can use those new resources in order to see how things work out. Okay, Austria, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I have to agree with Croatia and other member states in the matter of own resources. We believe that own resources such as plastic waste, base levy, border carbon adjustment mechanisms, and so on is a step towards better green policies. And moreover, we would like to introduce other new resources. Austria is in favor of changing the way EU is financed. And in this issue, we want to make put forward a proposal of the rebates in consonance with our fellow members of Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, and Sweden, and then forward as a part of the block of the dubbed frugal fours. We believe that maintaining the budget would be viable if own resources and rebates were incorporated at least in the next 2 years. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to remind the representative of Austria that the rebates will be discussed further down, but now you know where the position stands from Austria, and it might help you find an agreement on this particular issue. Hungary, sorry, and then Poland.
Well, from Hungary, we agree to the maintaining of the budget, but in exchange, we want to reduce the administration that we know that we are going to talk after, but for us are so important the respect of the values of our voters, and we agree to the maintenance of the budget, but we ask this section, and we want to remember that this budget is for a 6-year period, and we are going to be able to talk of another issues in 6-year period, and we think that we have to focus this negotiation in recovery of the coronavirus crisis, and this. Thank you.
Okay, Poland.
We of course agree with our fellow nation of Hungary, and we also agree with maintaining the budget as it is, but of course with the conditionality of reallocating those funds, which we strongly recommend that they go towards innovation funds, especially agricultural exploitation ones and eco-friendly projects, so as to take into consideration the environmental crisis we have at hand. Thank you.
Bulgaria is going to be the last word. Then I will ask to make a small recess of 2 minutes. You don't need to leave the room. I want you to talk among each other, and some of you, Irex as the representative, to talk to the Commission and present the finalized proposal regarding the ceiling and the new resources and what we need to conclude. Okay, so Bulgaria, the floor is yours, and then we will have a small recess, friendly discussions among you, so you can provide me with a final position.
From the perspective of Bulgaria, we are glad to see that we are moving closer towards an agreement and that the majority of states are favouring a maintenance of the initial Commission proposal. From the perspective of Bulgaria, we are also interested in new resources, and I think that the element of the environment, such as the idea of plastic taxes, is an innovative and interesting idea. But I would like to raise one concern with the idea of a plastic tax as such, particularly for countries in the east of Europe. We've been particularly hit with unemployment and poverty. So Bulgaria has the lowest Gini coefficient in the EU. We have the highest level of income inequality. And these sorts of taxes are regressive. They particularly impact the poorest in society. So I would like to propose from the perspective of Bulgaria that when we look at these new resources and ways to improve the environment and also raise funds at the same time, that we look instead at targeting corporations and targeting those with higher levels of income. For example, looking at carbon taxes on producers, so looking at the emissions, looking at limiting those emissions, and if they're exceeded, then putting taxations on that. But overall, we are really glad to see that we are moving much closer towards an agreement.
Okay, so as I said, I think we can have 2-3 minutes of informal discussions among the member states, and I'd like to hear a final proposal regarding the Commission's proposal on the ceiling and the new resources approach. Okay, thank you. I give you 2-3 minutes to talk to each other and find a final resolution. Okay. This has been actually quite quick. I think we made a lot of steps during the formal discussion, and I think that's why it was faster for you to make a decision. I don't know who will present the final proposal to the Commission of the Member States. Nobody? Belgium? I could have guessed.
We have agreed that we'll support the Commission proposal. We will implement the new resources from 2023, and we are for implementing plastic taxes and fares.
No other new resources during the whole period of the budget? Only plastic? I'm asking, it's okay, no, I just wonder if you've discussed something else. Okay, so from 21 to 23, nothing, and then 21, 22, no new taxes, no new resources. 23, we introduce new resources, and then until 2027, we might introduce one or two other taxes as a known resources. That's correct? Okay. 24 over. Okay, so we keep to the 1.1 GNI percentage of the ceiling, and well, that's about it. Now it's time to talk about the administration. Okay, this is not. I don't think it's not a controversial heading, but some things need to be pointed out. We have an overall ceiling of 1.1 trillion, so we need to see what goes to the administration and probably why. Okay, anybody wants to make a statement on this? No? Yes, Spain, please.
Thank you. For Spain, we understand the importance of having a strong and well-organized European public administration, so we can properly implement the different programs and policies that we have a common interest in. Although this is not an area of major funding on this multi-annual financial framework, we must ensure that the European schools and pensions, as well as the administrative expenditure of the institutions, are well funded so they can carry out their key role on the European Union. Although our preference is to maintain the proposed funding of the Commission for the administration, we are flexible if some other states believe that this area requires a slight reduction, so others more important for our priorities are met. Thank you.
Yes, Lithuania. We're talking about around 75 million, no? 75 trillion, if I'm not mistaken. So
the previous was 70.791 and the current 75.602.
Okay. So Lithuania, Slovakia, and Czech Republic, please.
Thank you. As we are talking about the administration and the corpus somehow of the EU, I would like to remind you or state that in comparison to national governments, the EU corpus is like really slim actually. As we just stated, it's only, I guess, 4 or 5% of the overall budget. So I don't think it's like a heavy part of the budget we need to maybe discuss or like stick on for too long. In general, Lithuania has the position or thinks that the proposed 75 billions, trillions you know, whatever, are fine. We're flexible on that issue, but we could also like agree on the proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Slovakia, I think it's your turn.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, figures-wise, but from what I've understood from the dossier, under the Commission proposal for the 2021 European Public Administration would be reduced from 74.6 billion to 73.1 in the new MFF, meaning a reduction of 1.5 billion euro in 2018 prices. And that's what I've understood from the chart. Additionally, I don't think that this is an especially controversial change. The amount spent on administration is about 7% of the total of the EU budget, and the amount of public servants is comparable to the French government. I think that it's a fairly sizable amount, and I think we can all agree that it seems to be working okay. So I think we can accept the Commission's proposal of the slight decrease in this area, or we can maintain the old one. Slovakia is open to either. That's my position.
Okay, I think it's the Czech Republic's turn, and then it will be, there's so many hands so it was Czech Republic, then it was Belgium, it was Hungary, and then on this side, France, Sweden also, and then we have Austria and Slovenia and Bulgaria.
Yeah, we as Czech Republic, we are in favor of maintaining the budget, and just to
Sorry, to make clear, 74.6 is our proposal.
Yeah.
I think was it not 73.1?
73.1 is the final, what it was agreed after the negotiation box, but our proposal is 74.6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and we think actually that it's now up to the institutions to make the processes in the whole European Union more efficient. Yeah, and we need to make sure that the money also reaches the right places where it's needed. In the case of the CAP in particular, the administrative costs and the output are not in balance at all. So that's our point.
Okay, it's Belgium's turn now, please.
In Belgium, we also agree with the Commission proposal, and we believe that this issue is more important for us than for other countries, as a big part of the European institutions are located in our country. And as Lithuania said, the amount of the funds located to the administration are not a really significant part of the MFF. And as I have heard, everybody agrees with the proposal. So if no one is against this amount of money, I feel that we could close the negotiation after the words of my colleagues.
Okay. Still, those who have asked their time to speak. Hungary, go ahead.
Well, from Hungary, we are against European administration and obviously this increment about the fund, because we think that if we do efficiently economical growth policies, there's no need to implement an administration about European Union. Our priorities, like we mentioned in the introduction, is our sovereignty, and we want to continue in this line, and we propose be more efficient in the policies that are accorded in the Commission and in other funds. that later we are gonna do proposals and more innovation, but administration for us is a very important fund, and we don't want to, we don't support this increment proposed. Thank you.
Is France now?
I would have to agree with my colleague from Hungary. If all the other fellow colleagues agreed with Belgium, I would be willing to compromise to accept his proposal. But as a representative of France, I believe that the administrative expenditure must be controlled, and I think we should approve more cost-saving measures, because even though the administrative costs are a very small part of the MFF, it still needs to be used efficiently, and part of the money that goes to European public administration goes to audits and controls that so the European Commission makes sure that there's no misspending in the money, and as my colleague from Denmark has said before, she presented the amount of money that is being misspent in the EU, and therefore I believe that the money that goes to administration is necessary to make sure that the money that it's spent effectively, but we can't just increase it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Sweden. One thing, at this moment, is there anybody willing to increase the budget so far on administration? I mean, those 74.6. Ireland has something to say about this. Okay, we'll wait for your position. The rest are in the position of keeping the same way or maybe decreasing the spend, right? Okay. Sweden?
We agree to the idea of maintaining the actual proposal of these funds. I think investing more money on this part of the budget will be inefficient, and although it's the lowest part of the budget, we can, as Fran says, we have to think about the efficient budget of the European Union, and so that's my opinion.
Okay, Austria, please.
Thank you very much. Talking from experience in the last 15 years of Austrian history, we have undergone few reforms to make the administration work more efficiently, less obsolete, and well, better for the Austrian people. However, aside from the fact that the evolution of the administration has been positive, from 9.8 in 1988 to 6% in 2014, we feel like a small reform would be positive for the European administration. So alongside, well, and taking the opportunity now that the UK has left the Union, alongside with other members of this council, such as Germany and the Czech Republic and the Netherlands, Austria would like to put forward the proposal of cutting 2 billion, which represents around roughly 2% and the proposal that the administration has put forward would not have to exceed 73.6 billion. Additionally, and in resonance with France, we would like to complement the proposal with periodical external evaluations in order to assess and ensure good functioning of the system. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think Slovenia's turn now, and then we have Bulgaria, Ireland. Who else? We have the Netherlands, Croatia, Poland, and Denmark. Let me go ahead. Netherlands, Croatia. Who else was there? Poland and Denmark, was it? Yeah. And then Italy. That's a lot of people talking for a non-important heading, but just if we focus on this, we will cut it from something else like the CAP or the cohesion funds. Just keep that in mind, okay?
Yeah, we would like to agree with the proposed budget by the Commission. However, we would like to argue that this doesn't set a precedent in future, because we believe that investing in a European administration is important, because the EU's administrative staff is relatively small in comparison with our national governments. There are only 60,000 civil servants working in the EU, and the budget, which goes towards administration, also goes towards staff salaries, pensions, schools for the children of staff members, and these are all important in creating a work environment which attracts the best minds of Europe. So, yeah, thank you.
Bulgaria, please.
Thank you. Once again, I think there's another opportunity for compromise with the two general sides that we're seeing in this negotiation. On the one hand, we've heard a lot about, especially in the first section, we heard about inefficiency of spending. And on the other side, there's a real primary concern, primary interest with the maintenance of CAP and cohesion funds. So from the perspective of Bulgaria, we would like to see a reallocation of resources in administration to streamlining and making the CAP and cohesion, the cohesion funds more efficient. And I think this is a potential solution which will mitigate the concerns about the efficiency of those policies, whilst also improving those policies for the countries that really depend on them. So ultimately, we don't have much preference between maintaining or a slight cut, as Austria suggested, but we think the main concern is reallocation towards these funds, and we think this is something that really can benefit every member state.
Ireland.
Thank you. If we are to implement the new taxes we just recently approved, we need to increase at least a bit with the administration. I know we have one country less in our union, and that will mean less money for those bureaucrats. But if we are to implement this and readjust to the new situation during a post-crisis situation, I don't think cutting in administration is the best you want, even for the big four, if I can say, the frugal four. If you want the money to be well spent and not misspent, you need a good administration. So I want to know what you think about that.
Well, one of the big four, Netherlands.
We understand the point raised by the representative of Ireland, and we understand the importance of it. However, given the fact that there hasn't really been a lot of conflicting views on this, we would like to take this opportunity to propose the member states the proposed, to implement the proposed cut by Austria, 2 billion, and use it to fund other policies where there might be more conflicts of interest, or where we might feel that they might need more of our attention. It does, administrative costs represent a very small percentage of the general budget. That is true. However, if we can cut just a tiny bit of it now and use it to fund other policies, where we can discuss later, because we have 3 other titles that are going to be, we think, more important to discuss, then yeah, we can do that. This is just our proposition.
Okay, Croatia.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that in kind of similar vein to what Ireland said, the departure of the UK has not actually decreased the administrative burden of this union. So we do not think it's wise at the moment to cut this budget. So we therefore support the Commission's proposal of 74.6 billion to keep the administrative capacity of this union. However, this being said, we cannot surely expect this to be maintained across a 6-year period. Therefore, we'd like to raise a proposal to other member states that this be reviewed halfway through this budget in 2023 to 24, and the budget be adapted accordingly at that point.
Okay, Poland.
Once again, we would like to show our support to Hungary in the reasoning behind these funds, and also back up our fellow representative of France when it comes to decreasing those funds, as it's obvious none of the member nations are facing a boom in their economic growth. Therefore, we think that cutting and saving some money and basically relocating it towards other funds that, as the Netherlands have said, are more important and dire, would be the right call to make, as well as we would like to basically point out that the second point in the European Union Charter states freedom, and we think that if we would be increasing those common administration funds, we would be basically not holding up those values.
Okay, Denmark, then Italy and Lithuania, and Belgium.
Yes, we can agree with the proposal from the Commission, but we can also agree with the proposals from Austria with cutting the budget for 2 billion euro. And as Croatia just suggested, that we can revise this specific topic in 3 years. And for us, we could, if we could agree on the proposal from Austria, we could also revise that in 3 years again. Yeah, thank you.
Very well, Italy.
Thank you. Italy agrees with Poland and Austria. I think we should reduce the spending level in an European administration. We all agree that administration is working well, but if we can reduce the spending, why don't we? The main problem with European administration is that it can be more efficient, but it's not a matter of money, it's a matter of efficiency. Thank you.
Lithuania and Belgium, and then I'd like to say something.
Just because the efficiency of the EU administration was criticized a few times, I want to say again what I said before. It's actually a really slim body compared to national administrations. And the other thing is, because it was brought up, the reallocation, like if we just cut 2 billion euros in these funds, I'm not sure if we really can have impacts on other important funds, because I think the CAP is around 870 billion euros. So what would make 2 billion a difference? I don't think so. So that's why I think we could somehow end the discussion here soon, at least, because it won't make a difference if it's 72 or 74. The thing is just, I think it's rather slim than inefficient, the administration. Thank you.
Okay, Belgium.
I understand the point of Austria and her colleagues, but we have to say that 2 billion in 6 years is not something significant for the whole European Union, but is something significant for Belgium, because this amount of money is not just spent in bureaucrats, but also in the infrastructures, in schools for children of European bureaucrats. And to exemplify my position, the staff in the European Union is not a big staff. We are 60,000 people, and to compare it to some national body in France, the finance ministry is composed by 140,000 people. So it's not a really big amount of staff. So we won't agree with the position of Austria in the economical part, but we agree that sometimes the European institutions are not efficient, so we are for the implementation of external evaluations. Thank you.
Okay, basically, I'd like to say a few things. We've spent a very valuable time discussing over 2 trillion euros heading of a budget. If this has taken us around 20-something minutes, what's going to happen with CAP or the cohesion funds? Okay, so now that is said, I have to accept all the words and all the statements of everybody because, of course, it is important for some of you. I'm sure it is, but I want some of you talk about the efficiency of the European Union. If we spend 20 minutes discussing about 2 trillion, what's going to happen with the rest of the headings? But with that said, what we can do? Shall we cut the proposal by 2 million and leave it at 72.6, or we keep it 74.6 as we proposed, or we can reach element in between? The only proposal for raising the administration budget has been brought up by Ireland, but with not a very precise number. What is it that we discuss? I give you 2 minutes to give a position. Ladies and gentlemen, please provide us with a proposal, and the Commission will accept it gratefully. Lithuania, please.
I think we agreed on maintaining the proposed budget for this area, but we'd like to introduce evaluation of the efficiency, like of the whole body, of the whole administration, after 3 years, I guess, so should be 2024.
Okay, so we keep the same budget as proposed, but we add some audits, to audit the expenses on administration in the following or in 3 years, at half of the period. Okay, okay, good. Sorry about that. I've written down your proposals. It's very fruitful for the Commission so far. I give you 5-minute break because what we have to have in hand is heavy. And I would appreciate if you go fast on this break and we get started on the most dense topics, okay? 5-minute recess. After the very tough discussion on the administration heading of the MFF, it is time for something much more light in order to us to reach an agreement. We will be discussing now the heading that takes the biggest chunk of the MFF, or almost one of the biggest chunks of the MFF. The Commission, as has been stated at the very beginning, is willing to reshape the budget and the way the European Union presents its expenses. Therefore, has proposed a relatively small cut on the CAP, around minus 10% in respect to the previous MFF. And we would like to know if the member states agree on the proposed amount. I see that Croatia wants to mention something. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'd just like to start the discussion by saying that Croatia is strongly against the proposal from the European Commission. We believe that reduction of 10% is unacceptable for the recipients of cohesion funds. One of the key principles of this union is the redistribution of funds. And for this reason, we believe that it should be maintained from the previous MFF in real terms. This is absolutely critical for the development of Croatia and other similar countries in terms of economic perspectives, especially in the challenge of COVID-19. It's been used, we've only been in the EU since 2013, and so we've only received 9 billion euros worth of funding as part of cohesion. Therefore, we believe that to reduce this funding now is to limit our capacity to develop ourselves.
Lithuania wanted to say something, and then the Netherlands.
Thank you. We stand mostly in line with our colleague from Croatia. We also could not accept that in our eyes really drastic cuts in this area. For us, it's still really important, as we stated in our opening words, to grow as European Union, to become a stable and independent economic and political area, because we probably maybe cannot rely on America as our savior in the system. So that's why I really think at the first step it's important to grow and become more stable as individual states, and therefore we need to still allocate sufficient funds for the cohesion. So, as Lithuanian country, I can just not propose with a cut of 10%. Let's see where the discussion leads, but actually we'd like to raise the budget in this area.
Any proposed amount?
Is the amount 70 million, no?
Something like that, yeah.
Then no, let's make just 900. It's around. It's
that's interesting. Okay, so the Netherlands, please, on the cohesion.
The Netherlands does not think that the proposition of the Commission is in any way very drastic or unacceptable. I mean, well, if we have to speak in percentages and in numbers, farmers represent about 30% of the EU's wider population, and they generate roughly 6% of the Union's GDP. But yet they receive 30% of the EU's total budget through cap handouts. We think that this is just a huge amount and a huge proportion of the budget in general, and we would like to, we agree with the proposition of the Commission to cut it just a bit so that we can maybe relocate this said cut to other areas such as either the Next Generation EU or the Green Deal and so on.
Yes, Slovakia. I think there's been a mistake, right? No, I think you were talking about cohesion.
No, the problem was at the introduction, because it was first cohesion. I think we're about to talk about cohesion.
Okay, so let's restart this. We will talk about cohesion funds. I think Croatia was, you were talking about cohesion, right?
Yeah, my statement was on cohesion, yeah.
Yeah. It was my introduction that was not appropriate, but the schedule, the order says that we need to talk about cohesion, so we focus on that. So sorry about that, Netherlands. And yeah, after Lithuania, if anybody wants to mention something about the cohesion funds. Denmark and Bulgaria. Denmark.
Sorry. I just wanted to say now, Croatia stated how important this fund is for their development. So I will propose, when we talk about the cohesion fund, that we state the importance of evaluations of the specific fundings, so that we can spend our money more wisely. We can accept the proposition from the Commission, but we in Denmark really believe that we should evaluate and control our money more within the cohesion, especially when we have so many member states who make it clear they have very specific important fields they want to spend the money on. So why don't we evaluate the funding more? And also, as Denmark, we will not receive much funding from this cohesion fund, and this is why we also really want the evaluation of the funding to see how we actually spend our money. Yes.
Bulgaria. Anybody else? Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Spain.
Thank you. From the perspective of Bulgaria, the cohesion and structural funds is a primary interest alongside the CAP, and I think there's a very salient reason for this. In fact, in and of itself, for every €1 that is spent, according to the OECD, for every €1 that is spent on the cohesion funds and structural funds, 1.5 euros is returned in trade. So this is a policy that in actuality pays for itself. It's a policy that contributes towards long-run aggregate supply, it contributes towards aggregate demand and therefore growth of GDP. Just to give a few statistics, just for the interest of the member states, the effect of the cohesion policy in the last MFF from 2014 to 20 included 4.7 million more households having access to broadband, 1,247 kilometres of rail being constructed, and over 1,800 kilometres of new road. And all of these things, these key elements of infrastructure, are absolutely crucial to the development of every single member state, especially those advancing economies like Bulgaria, Slovakia, Poland, other colleagues as well, Romania. And so I believe that this element of investment to cohesion should be ideally increased, but from the perspective of Bulgaria, we just cannot tolerate a 10% cut. It's radically too low, especially as we are rebuilding as an economy. It's important that we invest in the short, medium, and long-term future of the EU.
Okay, Slovakia.
So Slovakia, we'd just like to echo the comments made by our colleague Bulgaria, and that we are strongly opposed to any cuts in this area, especially the proposed 10% cut in the cohesion fund. From our perspective, these funds are imperative to the well-being of the Union as a whole. If we look at those who receive the funds, it amounts to Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Estonia, Greece, Croatia, Cyprus, Latvia, Lithuania, Hungary, Malta, Poland, Portugal, Romania and Slovenia. And apart from Malta, Portugal and Greece, if you look at that, we're all generally geographically close to each other, and I think it would be such a huge disadvantage to cut the funding and disadvantage an entire eastern area of the Union, because these funds target mainly infrastructure. So if we talk about the ERDF, which contributes to the integrated regional program, this is to create better transport links that are safer, which in turn is beneficial for the union in terms of commerce, but also in terms of environmental issues, which have been raised by many countries. When we have more efficient transport links, we're not wasting as much fuel, and it just aids a better union as a whole. So I think it's very imperative that we don't do drastic cuts in this area and disadvantage huge geographical areas of the union.
Okay, Czech Republic, you are next. I think there's few words. Wait 1 second. I have up to Finland, so it was Czech Republic, Spain, Finland. Who else have raised their hands? Jesus. We will do Poland, Portugal, Ireland, and Greece and Belgium. So Poland, Portugal, Ireland, Greece, and Belgium. And then on the other side, we have Hungary, Slovenia, and Austria. We will do like this: Austria, Slovenia, Hungary. Okay? So after Belgium, Austria, Slovenia, and Hungary, the last so far. Go ahead, Czech Republic, sorry.
So yeah, I agree with my colleagues from Bulgaria and Slovakia. But I would also like to add that we have very different positions in this team. We would like to have a 10% cut, or we would like to maintain the budget. And I want to say to all the member states and give an example, as we, the Czech Republic, did. We had the goal to support 77% of the household with high-speed internet until 2023. And by opening to market also to private mobile providers, we were able to reach this goal in 2017. So my point is that we should, if we talk about a cut, we should also talk about different opportunities, maybe economically, maybe let other businesses to invest there. So yeah.
Spain?
Thank you. Yes, very briefly, just mention that from Spain we are also against this cut. As a member of that took part on the Summit of Friends of Cohesion, we also value very highly the importance of the cohesion policy, which is a representative of the effective application of the European Pillar of Social Rights. And we stand with most of what's been said, and that we are also the greater part of the members of the union that are in favor of a rise of the rise of the budget on this case. Thanks.
Okay, Finland.
Thank you. Spain. So we agree with most of our colleagues also. We believe that this fund improves economic well-being on all regions in the European Union, and it also tries to decrease regional disparities. And it is important that the budget serves as a catalyst for growth and job creation in the region. And also, it is important to note that although less prosperous countries receive most of the support, the funding is available for everyone in the European region through policies, various funds and programs. So we believe that this is the best way for Europe to grow, and we don't want to see it cut. Thank you.
So far, none of you have presented supporting the cut. I guess in the next few presentations we will have this point of view, but just to move forward, right? Portugal? No, Poland now, sorry.
So we would like to echo what our colleagues from Bulgaria, Czech Republic, and Slovakia said. The efforts that we are putting in the present will serve us in the future, so therefore we should either increase or maintain the budget. Of course, we cannot even put into place cutting it. as it is extremely vital and we can lead by example, as Poland was one of the great beneficiaries of last term's cohesion funds. And we are now one of the most well interconnected countries that are currently developing. And we are also being sure that everyone has equal and fair access to things such as the internet.
Okay, Portugal. Remember that also it is important to mention those two specific headings that we want to put the focus on, the ones on research and innovation, and those regarding connectivity or connecting Europe. I know that the colleague from Slovakia has talked about the regional connectivity between the neighbor countries, so keep that in mind and see if this is something that we can introduce into the discussion. Okay, Portugal.
Okay, thank you. Representing Portugal, we just want to agree with the position explained by Poland or Bulgaria and Slovakia, and because Portugal may receive a huge support from the Cohesion Fund, especially in the field of environment and fighting against global climate change. So we propose an increase of 5% in funding compared to the Commission proposal for this Cohesion Fund. Thank you.
Okay, so we have an alternative proposal, like an explicit one. Ireland, if I'm not mistaken, yes?
As a net beneficiary or post-net beneficiary of the Cohesion Fund, and with the actual growth of our economy in Ireland, I think I should deny that a cut is needed in the Cohesion Fund. In fact, I think it's the part of the fund that I found more implicated in the European way of growing together, in my opinion. And at the same time, I think that we're not benefiting right now, actually, as a country from the Cohesion Fund. But by far, being in the single market and being in the European Union gives a lot of more benefits than what it takes economically from Ireland. And I need to remember that now we are a net contributor, so actually we are in the similar position of some of the ones that want to increase decrease the budget.
Okay, Greece, and then Belgium.
Yeah. Okay, so as I said in the presentation, I think that we have to promote policies that go further to promote the union single market. I think the cohesion fund or the cohesion policy is the most important one in the EU right now, because it also has many specific funds within it. I would like to mention the European Regional Development Fund, which Greece benefits a lot. It's almost half of the total budget of Greece's spend, and it especially helps to develop the competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises, so that especially it's an allocation of funds in the investment for jobs and growth goal, and I think that is one of the most important goal of the EU to achieve an integrated labor market and a transnational trade among the member states. And also, I would like to mention the 5% increasing that has been proposed by Portugal. I totally agree with that amount to be increased. And I also think that it's important to mention about the Research and Innovation Fund. I think this 5% could be spent in this fund specifically, more than the Connecting Europe Fund. But I don't know what other states have to say about that. Thank you.
Okay, Belgium.
In Belgium, we think that the Commission's proposal is correct because we don't benefit from this fund directly. However, we believe in a strong European cohesion within the Union, and we understand the cohesion funds are extremely important for certain countries. Thus, we are ready to agree in the amount of the funds as long as the 40% of this amount is invested in climate objectives and certain legislative changes that should be made to improve the efficiency of the spending of these funds. Promoting innovative green and smart economic transformation is one of our priorities, and I want to profit my intervention to encourage countries like the Netherlands to take up this proposal.
Okay, Austria.
Thank you very much. Austria's position aligns with the proposal of the Commission of lowering the budget around 10% less. Therefore, we must agree with other member states such as Denmark, the Netherlands, or even Belgium, amongst others. This significant decrease will allow other issues, for instance, the ones arising from the COVID-19 crisis, to be assessed more quickly and efficiently. And as a net contributor, Austria is also affected by this cut, as one of 9 regions is considered a transitional region. However, we want to make clear that this is not an issue for us, because if the money is used fairly, then we are in favor of this. Thank you very much.
Okay, Slovenia, and then Hungary. I think that's about it. And the Netherlands to finalize, because Greece, you already given your point, and we have less than 50 minutes to finish the whole discussion, because they will be kicking us out at 7 p.m. So, Slovenia?
First of all, I would like to say that we, the people of Slovenia, oppose any cut to the cohesion funds, as these are the most important area of EU policy for us. And we believe that all of the key areas of investment of these funds, such as research and innovation, digital technologies, and moving towards sustainable use of natural resources, are all too important to give up on now, especially in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, as these funds target the regions in Europe which are struggling to develop the most, and as we know, these are the regions which have been most affected by the pandemic. So as such, we cannot foresee any reduction of these funds, and we think that they're crucial for improving the cohesion of Europe. We especially promote the allocation of these funds to the Connecting Europe facility, as we have seen very positive results from this. And the areas of energy and transport specifically are very important to us. Thank you.
Okay, Hungary.
Well, from Hungary and our friends of the cohesion, we need these funds of the cohesion funds to reach the efficiency level asked for the most developed countries in another sessions also. And we think that when we talk about the cohesion funds, we talk about different issues, because innovation for us will help us to increase the quality of our exportations, and then we are going to be able to export of our to Germany, that is our most partner in terms of the market, and also in frontier borders and countries. And we think that cohesion funds has a lot of issues that are important for the cohesion of the European country that most of the states are trying to reach. And for these reasons, we defend the cohesion funds like the most and is important for our country, Hungary. Thank you.
Okay, the Netherlands and then Slovakia. Let me remind you that we are negotiating here, okay? So we need to reach an agreement. I want to see specific and explicit proposals and movements. I know that those funds are very important for you and your countries, but it is important that we reach an agreement, okay? So Netherlands, please.
We understand the concerns and needs of the member states who are against this proposed cut, but here we have some propositions. First of all, the Netherlands, as Austria, we support the proposition of the Commission. It aligns with our goals in this multi-annual framework. However, we also think that the proposition raised by Belgium is totally viable and doable. We can maintain it if there's a certain percentage that is going to be dedicated to sustainable, was it you said? Yeah, to policy practices. One thing that we would like to propose to these countries who express that the cohesion funds are very important for their states is to agree, so we can reach a conclusion, agree on maintaining the cohesion funds, so no 10% cut, if these countries agree on a cut on the common agricultural policy, which is going to be the next title, because we cannot keep denying cuts, keep trying to increase everything. We do not have the money to do so, and we have to cut back on some stuff if you think that the cohesion funds are more important to you, and you are willing to cut back on common agricultural policy, so let's do that.
Thank you. I really appreciate the sincerity and the straight-to-the-point proposal from the Netherlands. I think Slovakia has something to say, then Finland and Ireland.
So from the
I have Lithuania first, sorry, after Slovakia, Lithuania.
So just from the Slovakian perspective, we would like to advocate for a maintenance of the funds and a reversal of the cuts. And within this, we would like to emphasize the importance of the Connecting Europe Fund for the entire Union. So we would like to, within that allocation, to prioritize the CEF rather than research and innovation between the balance of the two, because both are up for cuts, and we think that if they are going to be cut, the CEF should get a less severe cut because it's more pressing at this current time. And then with regards to the cap, we will add to our opinion to that when we transition into that discussion.
Okay, Lithuania, but I wouldn't mind if you want to bring the CAP into the discussion. It's okay. We can make it like a continuous debate. However, I want to write down the cohesion point. Lithuania, please.
Take position to the cohesion now, right? Yeah, perfect. I just found really good what my colleague from Bulgaria mentioned. We should not be afraid, I guess, of spending money on the cohesion, because in the end it affects us, most of us, probably all of us, positive. So, because it's already a big part and a big issue and a big part of the budget, I would still be for raising it, but of course I can understand countries that are benefiting less. And so I really could agree on the proposed maintenance of the budget from Netherlands. And maybe to even make this topic more efficient, we could add some evaluation parts, as Denmark mentioned. You mentioned something, right? So
I would like
to control the efficiency of the cohesion fund. In general.
I would like to remember the member states that on the first two headings we haven't cut a single euro. meaning that we made a proposal which is acceptable. We made a proposal on the administration which has been accepted. We propose a cut on the cohesion funds, and the member states say that they don't want the cut. Let me warn you, we propose a cut also in the CAP. So at some point, we will need to cut something, okay? So keep that in mind, and please, let's try to find a common ground on these cohesion funds, and maybe involving the CAP. And now it's done for Finland and then Ireland. And then it's gonna be Croatia and Greece. But, sorry, for those who have spoken already, I assume that you speak now to offer a possibility, not to explain how important the cohesion funds are for your country, because I already know that, okay? So please, go ahead.
We also agree with the Netherlands. I was actually going to propose that when we went to the CAP, because the CAP, we believe, well, Finland believes that it helps specifically some states more than others, but then the cohesion funds, they help Europe as a whole. So we believe that it's in the best interest on the union to put the funds on the cohesion funds. Also, we want to remind fellow member states that we do know that first, for some of you, the cap is more important, but then also we're part of a union, so sometimes we have to make compromises and do what's best for all of us instead of just for some of us. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Good point. Ireland, please.
We in Ireland, we depend totally on the CAP budget. 80% of what we receive comes from the CAP, so it's unacceptable for us to cut on the CAP. We will not support, we haven't supported the measure in a cut of the cohesion fund, born on goodwill by our side and our beliefs in the usefulness of the cohesion funds, as we ourselves are a good example of the use of these cohesion funds. But there's no way we're accepting a cut on the CAP. So I remember my colleagues from the cohesion fund friends and stuff that we need to get an agreement with that on mind.
What can you offer us in exchange, Ireland?
Go ahead, go ahead. Can you offer an exchange? Not yet, he's thinking about it. Croatia and Greece, and then I will close the floor for this, and we need to find an agreement. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I apologize to my colleague from Ireland, but I would be open to negotiations with the Netherlands regarding a cut to the CAP if cohesion was to be maintained or somewhat raised as well. I think we can discuss specific percentages when we get on the topic. However, just to respond to the Irish complaint, I would argue that Ireland itself benefited majorly from cohesion. It started the EU as lowly developed everywhere. It's now classed as fully developed everywhere. So I would argue that for sake of other members, this be a priority for all states.
Okay, Greece.
Okay, a few points. I want to agree with Croatia. Also, we would be willing to do this cut on the cap policy as Netherlands has proposed. About the assistance of the cohesion fund, there is an assistance if a member state shows excessive public deficit and it has not resolved the situation or has not taken appropriate action to resolve it. This assistance or financial help is just removed or suspended by the Council. And also, I want to remember that at the beginning, many states, such as Sweden, Austria, and also Finland, that it's now giving support to the cohesion fund, to the cohesion fund and policies, that they started saying they wanted greener policies, sustainable research, and to rise the research and innovation policies and funds. So actually these funds are within the cohesion fund mainly. There is the Just Transition Fund that supports the regions most affected by the transition towards the climate change and towards climate neutrality. So that would be the more sustainable policies that you wanted. And I think that for all member states of unless maybe Ireland and I don't know if any other state that does not benefit from this, but in general, I think that we all benefit from this policy, the cohesion fund, and I think that maybe not a 10% of rising, but a 5% would be just for everyone.
A 5% cut instead of a 10% cut, a 5%
Yeah.
cut, but somebody proposed 5% increase from the basis. I think it was who was it that proposed Portugal, and Lithuania, and the Friends of Cohesion.
No, I proposed a 5%. I mean, the Commission proposed a 10% cut.
Yes, and you're proposing a 5% cut.
Yes, or yeah.
Okay. Well, sorry. Now it is time to deliver to think about this and give a proposal. But I want you, because the representative of the Netherlands has introduced a very interesting point, and it's the next topic that we have to discuss. I want you to reach or to tell me to what agreement you've reached regarding the cohesion funds. But keeping in mind that we proposed 10% cut on the cohesion funds, we proposed 15% cut on the CAP, and that we have not cut a single euro from proposal or administration, meaning that the cuts will come because the Commission will strongly support some cuts. This needs to be done. The UK has left the Union, and we cannot print money like this is monopoly. Okay? So keep that in mind, and when you present your agreement on the cohesion funds, keep in mind your CAP position. And don't forget one thing, there's conditionality on the CAP too, so keep that in mind, and please deliberate. I give you 3 minutes because it's a little bit more complicated this time. Okay, welcome back, beloved member states. I think the decision that you make now will mark the following heading. So I think we should go and do it a little bit more lightly and faster. I will take your points, but the whole idea of the negotiation is to get to the point. Yes, the representative of Ireland.
I think we can relate both topics on a same discussion scenario, maybe. Not like have a verdict and then have another one.
Okay, no, but you've reached an agreement on the cohesion funds, yes, and the agreement is
That we cut 5% from the cohesion funds, and 40% of the amount allocated to the cohesion policy is supposed to sustain more like sustainable policies for like transportation fields and stuff.
okay. So it's not precisely divided in the two small subheadings that we discussed or that we presented, the research and innovation, but connecting Europe. But instead of putting in the both subheadings, you propose to, no matter what heading, but that money goes to a specific green and environmental approaches. Yes, Bulgaria.
We didn't discuss this, but I suppose the idea of the environmental aspect could go into research and innovation. So research and innovation looking at the future of climate policy, and also with Connecting Europe, as has been mentioned by the Netherlands, the idea of more sustainable transport. So I suppose it could also go into those two categories.
Okay, so we can divide it in those two subheadings a little bit and then focus on the issue. Okay, sounds interesting to us. Appreciate the effort of all member states accepting our reduction on the cohesion funds. And now you know that we talk about the CAP, in which we propose a 15% cut. Well, we are open to hear a few proposals now that you've made an effort. So I show you that the Commission is not here only to punish, but I like to hear these reasonings need to be straight to the point because we don't have much time. So I'd say we're gonna do it like this. So Austria starts first, then Slovakia, Netherlands, Sweden, and Portugal. Okay, nobody else? Go ahead, Austria.
Thank you very much. I think it has come to a point that we don't need to decide if we cut or not the CAP, it's how much we cut the CAP. There's not money for funding. That's it. We need a cut. So if we cut the 5% of the cohesion policy, the 50% provided from the Commission, I think personally is short. We should cut more. If we only cut 5%, or if we cut 15%, or even I think the pro-fours are open to a 12%, we need a lot of conditionalities because there's no money. Thank you.
Clear point. Slovakia.
Yeah, so we would just like to say that although in an ideal world we wouldn't cut the CAP, we're open to taking some cuts within the CAP from the Slovakian perspective, but 15% is too drastic considering agriculture is very important, especially the direct payments to farmers, because in our country and in Czech Republic and Slovakia and some others, the income from farming is below that of the service industry and the construction industry. So it's the lowest paying kind of employment. And we think that maybe France, Germany and Spain will support our positions because they're the three biggest beneficiaries of the CAP. And then in terms of conditionality, from our perspective, we're against conditionality, and a big part of this is actually a proposal on the social dimension that I mentioned in my position paper, which was signed by Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Finland, Greece, Hungary, Latvia, Malta and Romania, which basically said that while social conditionality can be a good thing, that maybe applying too much of it under the CAP wouldn't be viable because it's only one policy and already has a lot of burdens. So I think that we need to be a bit open to not placing a lot of conditionality under the CAP, and that maybe we should think further down the road about putting conditionality in other places or creating a separate entity for it.
Okay, interesting point about conditionality. The Netherlands, please.
Since we didn't end up cutting 10% from the cohesion policy, we're definitely in favor of at least cutting 15% from the common agricultural policy now. And given the fact that there are many other programs within the EU that work to support farmers, fishermen, and support more sustainable agricultural practices, we would like to propose to all the member states to maybe have the common agricultural policy not something as separate, but incorporated within the European Green Deal, so that we really underline and highlight the importance of the more like environmental and green aspect of the common agricultural policy, and then that could also allow us to cut cut from administrative costs and so on.
Okay, I think the next one was Sweden. Ireland has raised now, so it's Sweden and Portugal, right? And then we have Hungary, Bulgaria, France, and Ireland. And Lithuania also. Okay, we gotta go fast. Sweden, please go ahead.
Thank you. Sweden agrees with Austria and Netherlands to cut the CAP budget, but we also have to make an appointment. Ireland, Poland, and Hungary wants to increase this part of the budget, but there's just 2% of these agricultural land that are sustainable. So one of our conditionality would be to increase the sustainable agricultural lands.
Yes, the representative of Portugal, please.
Yes, thank you. We're gonna go straight to the point. For Portugal, a cut of 15% is not sustainable, but we propose a cut of 10% of the CAP budget with the introduction of conditionality, but not from immediately, but from 2023, maybe to try to find a compromise with the other countries against the conditionality. Thank you.
I think it was Hungary, the one that raised their hand. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, from Hungary, and also 2020 Eurobarometer said that 95% European citizens reflected their opinions about agricultural areas are important for us. From Hungary, we are ready to accept a reduction about 10% if this reduction is allocated in innovation for CAP programs and for making our quality of the agricultural products more efficiently. And we are ready to cut from direct payments in the rural areas, and this is our proposal. Thanks.
As I expressed already, the 80% of what we receive in Ireland from the EU comes from CAP. If the actual situation with trade in Ireland continues like nowadays, and there's not a free trade agreement with the UK, and the next year we will have no route inland to where to export the agricultural products we sell in Ireland to mainland Europe. So I wanted to express what solutions are the countries that are proposing a 15% cut in the CAP to give us or especially the Irish farmers, what should I tell them when they ask me how we export our products, how if we are our main ally in export-import of agricultural products, it's gone of the Union, and now we have more cuts. And then they demand new green solutions for the climate change, but they don't think about the competitiveness of the products we're selling. What should I tell them?
If any of those countries want to reply, sorry, Bulgaria, but they've been interpelled. I don't know, Netherlands or Austria were the ones that proposed to maintain the 15%.
I think we can do it all together if you turn on your microphone. I think that the matter of transportation is in the cohesion funds. So if we cut the CAP, I don't see any issues with the transportation. However, it's not a matter of what do you say to your citizens, it's a matter of if we do not cut, there is no money. So if we do not cut in the cohesion funds, which saves your transportation issue, we do cut in the CAP.
Exactly, we ended up cutting less than what the Commission proposed, so naturally we have to cut more from the Common Agriculture Policy than the Commission proposed. Plus there are other programs and policies within the EU that support agricultural practices. So CAP is not the only thing that gives money to your farmers. There's also the Farm to Fork strategy within the European Green Deal, and then like other stuff too. So
Yeah, I know that,
by
but
cutting CAP, you won't lose that much, or like.
But I want solutions for this exact problem. The problem that we have right now, like the land bridge in between Ireland and Wales is gonna be cut. And we're gonna have to rework all how we trade our products, not just agricultural products, but products in general. I know there's a fund for the Brexit, like the most affected countries by Brexit, and we are the first in list. So we know there's this fund, but this fund maybe will be not enough.
We understand the issue.
Well, in order to stop the bilateral or the trilateral discussion, I want to remind the representative of Ireland that your concerns have been heard in previous hearings, and the cohesion funds are going to be working on the Connectivity Europe, and we will work on those roads connecting the different countries. I agree, I see your concern, because no matter how good we work on the roads, those farmers will be hit early, at least at the in a short-term period. But yeah, the thing is that Brexit is a reality, and the EU is trying to cope with it the best we can. I don't want you to misunderstand my words, but let's focus on the CAP and let's work on the other border and other issues, or we will deal with them earlier, later on, or on the other headings. Bulgaria and Slovakia wanted to say something. A lot of words, but we don't have time. So I'd rather give the word to Bulgaria in order to compensate the Austria and Netherlands position in many ways. But please provide me with a solution. I mean, provide us with a solution.
Yep, so from the perspective of Bulgaria, it's disappointing that we're going to have to cut the CAP at all, but we recognise that that is the reality. We agreed on a budget, and we cut the cohesion policy less than the Commission proposed. So from the perspective of Bulgaria, we'd be willing to accept the 10% cut. However, we cannot seem to understand this idea of conditionalities, because that is only going to increase the administrative cost, which we've already agreed to maintain. For every condition that you have to be enforced, you need enforcement, and that costs a lot of money. So we are willing to take this 10% cut. We believe that the solution is to accept the 10% cut, but to leave the conditionalities out of this proposal, because it's only going to cost even more money and cut further into the budget in an unnecessary way.
Yes, Slovakia.
We just want to say that we could possibly accept Portugal's proposal of the 10% cut and then delaying conditionality perhaps with the conditionality, since we didn't decrease the public admin funds as the Commission proposed, the fact that we didn't decrease them could be put towards the application of conditionality and its monitoring.
Okay, last two words. Netherlands, Austria, because you are the ones proposing to stay with 15%.
So we would only be willing to accept a 10% cut and the implementation of conditionalities later, if this is connecting it to the next heading, if the member states agree with the continuation of rebates.
I was going to say about the same. Conditionalities must be applied now, not in 2 years. So I would say conditionalities now, 10% cut and rebates. If not, there is not a chance that Astra and our fellow Frugal Force is going to approve anything.
Okay, because the member states of Austria and Netherlands have brought up the rebates, and we don't have much time because it's dark in Brussels, and we need to take the taxi and go to our houses with our kids and our people, or just want to go have a booking in a restaurant and we want to go for a beer or two. My proposal is that link together the CIP cut with the rebates and discuss it informally among all of you. I'm sure that you've done before, so I think it's going to be quick. I give you 5 minutes in order to finalize the proposal of the CIP. We agreed, and don't start from zero. We agreed that cuts have to be accepted on the CIP. We agreed on that, so that's a very important agreement. We don't know if we have to be 15% or 10%. And we have not agreed on the conditionality. We have not agreed into applying it, not applying it, or applying it progressively. And this is something that we need to keep into consideration. And to finalize, think about the correction systems. The correction systems are something that needs to be addressed. It has also something to do with the new sources, because with new sources we could compensate the net contribution compensations, high contributions. So. I think it's a good way to finalize all our discussion in a very informal manner. Please don't fight against each other. Those flags are not to stop your fellow member states. So please discuss it for 5 minutes and please provide me an agreement on the CIP and on the correction systems. Okay? Thank you. Dear member states, it would be good if we could finalize the negotiation. Okay, so please provide us, enlighten the Commission, please. Okay. Well, first, do we have an agreement on the CAP and the rebate issue? Yes. Is it going to be an agreement that will make me and my fellow commission members happy? Okay. So please, Slovakia, you are the spokesperson of the agreement. Go ahead.
So we agreed to cut the CAP by 12% with the conditionality coming in 2 years. And with regards to rebates, we're going to maintain them but not increase them. And we think this will be the funds will be compensated from the implementation of the new own resources and the fact that we didn't cut the administration's funds previously, so admin can also work on this future conditionality since it wasn't reduced.
Okay, so we used Portugal's proposal, but we increased the cut 12% instead of 10, right? You proposed 10, we reached 12. Conditionalities applied on the 2023, right? And which was the proposal already made. And the correction system or the rebates are maintained, not reduced, but maintained. Okay, and then you say that we're going to compensate this with the introduction of the new resources. Is that right? The idea behind it? Well, as a representative of the Commission, I hope that the Parliament accepts this, because the cut on the CAP is going to be hard to make them swallow it. But for the rest, I think it's a very comprehensive and very good agreement, and because of that, I congratulate you for all your efforts, and thank you very much for your time. Good job. Now I suggest that we take a picture, all of us in here, and we will use it we will put it in the Aula Global for your performance. Okay?